Welcome to Where's the Any Key, a podcast about all things geeky and nerdy in nature. Today's episode, we're having a bit of a catch-up. We're going to talk a bit about the Game Awards, some of the games I've been playing, have a bit of a chat about the Game Fantasy Critics game. That's a funny way to say that, but it's the Game Critic game is going to be us basically drafting like you would in a football team or a sports team, go sports, for video games throughout the year. I think it's going to be good to talk about that with keeping up with games and in the industry. I love doing that sort of stuff, so it's going to be a bit of fun. But before we jump into that, I want to welcome, of course, my co-host as ever, Ivan. How you doing?
Hey.
All right.
Doing better. Doing a lot better, thanks, man. Uh, as you know, I was actually sick during the holiday break, so
Yep.
if I still sound a bit croaky, I do apologize.
Sound
But
pretty good here. Yeah, and you
getting
did.
on the mend.
You didn't. It's good to hear. But you didn't really get the chance, you were saying before, to play games over the break, just with being crook and busy with holiday stuff.
Yeah, no chance really. I did try and get in some gaming, but it was very light.
Yeah.
So very light gaming, I'm afraid.
Anything in particular, like was Skull or something like
Um,
that you're back to, or
I went back to Skull. I went back to Sherlock Holmes: The Awakening.
oh
Sherlock
yeah,
Holmes: The Awakening. Um, the problem with Sherlock Holmes: The Awakening is it's a great game, but it's one that you kind of have to play a little bit more progressively or continuously, because what happens is there's so many like side functions. Even though the button configuration or the button choices are very minimal, like in just getting around about, you've got a run, you've got like a detective mode, you've got a scan mode, and I think you've got an interact,
mm.
and that's sort of fine. But then when you get into like sort of the deducing or the investigating, that's when the real sort of niche comes in. You have to sort of double check something and click to another menu and then sort of switch that option while in another option with another mode activated. So it took me a bit of time to sort of wrap my head back around that,
Right, yeah, okay,
because yeah. So although there are helpful hints and reminders, although I think I'm still quite early in the game, so they're still sending me reminders. But yeah, it is one that you kind of have to continue. Aside from that, and I, it's become pretty evident that I kind of need to upgrade the PC. I went back to my usual cozy game, the one that I can just jump in and sort of forget all life troubles and sort of play sort of off the cuff. Was All the Mods 8. I know there's All the Mods 10, but like a lot of these packs keep getting updated. All the Mod 8, I think, which is Minecraft, modded Minecraft, sort of doesn't need much more updating, and everything's sort of standard so you can finish it. It's very kitchen sink, all the mods that they can fit in. So there's a lot to do.
cool.
Um, but my PC of late has started crashing it. So
Mm.
it's either the file's gotten too big or again, look, it's something to be expected. A lot of these mods aren't really optimized as best they can be, and it is running Java, and so it's to be expected.
Yeah,
So yeah,
resource heavy.
I've been playing that for a bit. Yeah.
Speaking of, did you hear old Notch, the creator of Minecraft, had run a poll on his Twitter recently and said, what would you want me to work on or focus on in 2025? The first one was something like a action roguelike game or work on a spiritual successor to Minecraft. And of course, everybody voted for that. He said, all right, I'm going to do it. And, who knows what he's going to do, because he's said a lot of things. Like he has been working on a couple of games since he sold off Minecraft to Microsoft. But there's been nothing coming of it that I know of. At least he may have released something, but I hadn't heard anything. But just maybe sort of laughed that he's like, oh, yep, spiritual successor to Minecraft. Like, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, like Minecraft too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not going to get away with that. But anyway, for me, I've on the other hand, I've
Hmm.
been playing a lot, and we talked about before going live with this podcast recording about talking about our, my Steam Deck and your Legion Go, the handheld gaming sort of stuff. We've decided to leave that for an in-person podcast, which we're hopefully going to do soon. And but I just did want to say as one point is all the games I'm talking about today, I've basically been playing, with the exception of the Sim the racing sim that I'm in, everything has been on either the Steam Deck or the Switch. So I've been pretty much primarily playing with handheld devices for my gaming. Oh, and the mobile, which isn't what I don't want to forget about, but a big game there. But what I was thinking I'll do is I'll talk a bit about. I'm going to wrap up about 3 games into one sort of bit I want to talk about. I'm going to have a bit of whinging in there, so fair warning. I'm going to whinge a little bit, but I will try and do the good old compliment sandwich, I suppose, because it is. These games are good in their own right for what they're doing, but there's a lot of frustrations for me, and I ended up quitting 2 of them, even though they were really highly rated. One of them was Game of the Year, I think, the year it released, which is a bit of a surprise. And then
Oh, wow.
don't let me forget. I want to talk about Balatro. It's pronounced. Not I keep saying Balatro, but it's Balatro. I think is how it's pronounced.
Balatro. All
Yeah.
right.
I fell in love with that, like many other people have. A little indie title, which is the first I could say, the first real roguelike I've been really into. Like I finally found one I think that I love. And then yeah, a couple of those games, and then we'll probably might talk about the Game Awards and upcoming games, and then jump into the critic from there. So yeah, with that being said, I'll jump into the 3 I've sort of want to group together. So I've played Arkham City, so Batman Arkham City, Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor, and Middle Earth Shadow of War. And I quit. Well, actually, take a stab. So I quit 2 of these games. Take a stab at which ones did you think I quit out of those 3?
Now, I think from our last conversation, I know it would have been Batman.
Yep.
Um, and
This one's going to be a coin flip because they're both very similar games, the other 2.
um, oh, I wouldn't be able to say. No,
No.
like you could go either way.
Yeah,
It
cool.
wasn't really.
Yeah, no, that's good. Half the way there. Yeah, so I think we may have touched on last time. I think I was giving it a chance. Like in the last catch up, I did say I'd give it a bit more of a chance. I ended up quitting it. So to recap, what I was talking about last time was I played through Arkham Knight recently. I'm sort of having there's a bit of a lull in the moment with games, and I'm hanging on. I'm waiting for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That's out in a couple of weeks for PC, because I played the Final Fantasy VII remake last year, and that was fantastic. So I'm looking forward to this. And Spider-Man 2 on PC is going to release at the end of the month. There's also another sim going into early access next Friday, so I'll be jumping into that as well. But that one won't talk about as much. It's more the geeky, real niche sort of thing. But yeah. So
Actually,
yeah.
mhm. Sorry, that was as a brief interlude there. I was going to say my brother's actually reached out to me and he sort of asked, if there are any sort of drifting sims, and it's something that
Ah.
he's finally sort of looking into and sort of getting into. I know that there is a drifting sim
Yep.
that's coming out this year.
Yeah. So I'd
So
100% recommend if he's more for the arcadey stuff. There's obviously plenty out there, but Assetto Corsa does really well with drifting. So that's the game that.
brilliant.
So basically, I'm waiting for the sequel of this game that's going into early access next Friday. I wouldn't recommend him picking that up because early access means you can have bugs. It's not going to be feature complete. They're going to be active development, and the original game
Right.
took that was in early access for like 2 years before it went full release. So. But that one's really good. It's got heavy mod support, a lot of big. You can just jump on YouTube and go Assetto Corsa Drift, and then you'll just find a whole bunch of tutorials on how to set it up. That's really highly regarded in all the sim. You talk about niche, like this niche sim racing. This is another further niche into that sim racing, which is drifting specifically, and that subculture is huge. It goes off. So Assetto Corsa, 100% recommend it.
Fantastic. He's actually looked at it. He's actually looked at Assetto Corsa. So yeah, he's already bought a few racing sim stuff, equipment. But what I've done is sort of gotten him a graphics card, and like an upgrade in RAM for Christmas. And I thought, you know what?
Cool.
Yeah.
What
He came over.
gear does he have? Like
It's really low
budget.
sort of tech.
Yep.
It's again, because he's not really a computer or gaming guy. Most of the consoles he buys.
Yep.
So it look, I think it's like
Is it a
an
Logitech?
i5. I think like
Oh, like as in sorry,
I think it
the
might be
hardware.
I think it might have been Logitech. I think about because he ended up getting it off like secondhand.
Yep.
So I think it's just like really early days diving in to see if
Yeah.
he likes it or if he doesn't like it at all. And I thought, so because that was my first sort of bit of advice to him was don't go out and spend a whole bunch of money because you're not going to know if you like this or
Yeah,
that you don't like it.
good
Like,
call.
go test first, yeah,
Yeah.
and then if you like it, you can slowly upgrade your
Yes,
equipment.
great idea, man. Because that's it is a very expensive hobby once you start getting into it. Like I've got my rig, which you're aware of, and that's, I mean, all up the seat, the wheels, and then I'd probably include. No, you don't really need it, but I do. Like once you've tried VR in sim racing, you never go back. But I'll leave the VR out of it. But including the base and the wheels, probably $2,000 all up I've spent so far. And that doesn't include the previous wheels I've had. So add another 500 onto
Wow.
that, I suppose, maybe 700. So there's that. And I'm already thinking of my next upgrade, which is I want to get a H pattern shifter, which locks into a sequential shifter as well, a handbrake, so I can do more like older cars, simulate that, and do rally driving, and then a wheel, so a round wheel. So I've just got a Formula One style wheel at the moment, but I'd like to get the rounder wheel for some of the older cars. And then I want to get this thing you can put on the back of the pedal, like my dream is to have hydraulic brakes on there, but they're like $3,000 just for the brakes, so it's ridiculous. But you can actually get these things that replicate ABS, so you can get this little thing
Oh,
that
really?
has haptic feedback on the pedal, which is cool. So I'm thinking about getting one of those, which are much more cheaper. But that's a bit further away for me at the moment. I've got other priorities first. But yeah, so going back into what I was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was talking about what I was looking forward to next there. But yeah, these other. So that's right. I was playing games in the interim. Like I was going back. Normally, I don't go back. I typically will stay with some of the new stuff. But I think having the Steam Deck has really enabled me to look back a bit further back, because really the Steam Deck's not going to be at the forefront of those high fidelity grunts, games that I'd use my computer for. Now I can use Steam Link. I haven't actually tried that yet properly to do that, but I think I like having that on the go. I take it down to be on the train to work, and it just makes the train ride. I enjoy the train ride now. It used to be a bit of a bore, but now I'm just on the Steam Deck the whole time, and it's great. So I prefer having games natively running on it. And so I picked up years ago. Sorry, before I get ahead, I'll go back to Arkham City. So that's why I picked that up, was because I played Arkham Knight recently. That's me going back. Absolutely loved Arkham Knight. Can absolutely see why everybody loved it. Incredible game. Loved it. I'm thinking about maybe even going back through it again just to wash the bad taste out of the mouth from Arkham City. I loved Arkham Asylum, which is the first one in the trilogy, and I thought after playing Arkham City, I'm like, God, man, has it not aged well? Because I really didn't like Arkham City. That got overwhelmingly Game of the Year, like highly rated. I think it even got higher rated than Arkham Knight in terms of just general ratings. But I feel like it hasn't aged well. There's a lot of things in it that didn't go well, and I'll get my whinging out of the way for that first. So I actually was saying before starting this recording that I spoke to my phone, like I just opened it up and hurled abuse at my phone, basically typing out all my thoughts. So I think I mentioned to you before that I'll quit a game if there's enough little things that annoy me where the bad outweighs the good, even though the game on a whole might be pretty good. If there's little things that keep annoying me, it'll just break me by the end of it, and I realize I'm just not having fun. I'm too busy looking for the flaws, and that's what happened with Arkham City. So what did I do? I'm frustrated due to numerous. So this is a recap from I'm using ChatGPT to help me because there's a lot of it's just a mess. So basically, yeah, just what I said there was I did quit it years ago due to frustrations. And same sort of thing here. I think at the time I'd quit due to a fight with Poison Ivy. I don't know if I got to that fight this time, actually. I might even quit earlier, but I found that...
Oh, wow.
Found it things like even with Arkham Knight's quite generous with its counter window, so you feel like you could still be in the flow of the combat. And the reason why I wanted to group this in with the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor is that they all borrow from the Arkham's combat. You may have heard about that being the big selling point with these games. Like that's the innovation they brought into the industry. Yeah, and it's great. Like I love the game because you feel like Batman. You're cruising around, beating up these people. You're countering everything. You're getting some good runs on, and sort of the flow with that game is more. Yes, you can make mistakes and stuff it up because you got enemies that they introduce later in the game that you can't do your typical ways of attacking. You've got to change up the way you play, which is great. But the flow of that game in Arkham Knight was more like how many hits can you get on someone before you break those hits, whether it's you dodging out of the way or getting hit. And that was really fun. So you still felt like you could absolutely steamroll enemies, but they kept encouraging you to try and do it all, like take out these 20 enemies in one continuous chain. Whereas Arkham City felt like it was trying to, like, you have to be super quick onto it and it'll punish you if you don't. So that got really annoying because it felt really inconsistent. I felt like I was constantly unfairly getting hit. So that was frustrating. Um,
Well,
yeah.
sorry to interject.
No, go for it.
I was no, look, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, with I guess in general, I've started to notice that me playing a lot of games, or even watching a lot of games that I've been added to my Steam, account. I will I will like see a trailer, and trailers can be so deceiving. You kind of they only showcase really the best points. Um, but then I'll give it some time. So I'll come back to it like 3, 4 months later, and I'll have a look at it. And then if I still feel the same excitement by reading either the explanation, or even watching the trailer, or even watching other people sort of play, then it remains on my Steam account. And obviously, if it's on sale, then I'll buy it. If it's not, then I'll wait for a sale. If it does, or if it doesn't. Um, but I've noticed that it helps me weed out a lot of games, because I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, I don't feel as excited as I first was for this game. Or I look at the game loop, and sort of the long-winded tangent that I'm getting to here is sort of the game loop. If I agree with you, if the game loop breaks you out of the immersion of the game, where you're now looking for flaws, or you're just going through the motions, and you're like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm just literally inputting buttons to get through to the next exciting bit, whether it be a story reveal, whether it be to progress the gameplay, whether it will allow you to get another skill. Yeah, I think a lot has to be said about lengths of games. Like the whole point of a good game is to leave you wanting more,
Mm.
and not to exhaust you to the point where you're like, why am I still playing this game? This game is boring me to
Yeah.
death, or
This
I,
is
I'm frustrated.
man, this is why I love talking to you, because you've just actually hit on the two big points I wanted to bring up about not only Arkham City but Shadow of War. So Shadow of Mordor was the
Mm.
first game, Shadow of War was the sequel. And you talk about the core gameplay loop. So where in Batman you're sort of doing a mixture of things, and the combat is done well in the sense of it sort of fits in with the rest of the stuff they're doing. So you get a lot of the detective stuff, which is great. Like the parts of Arkham City I actually liked was the detective part of it, and the puzzle solving. That sort of stuff was really cool, and I sort of was dreading almost coming up against the combat sequences because they were just weren't as fun. Whereas they weren't really a problem in Arkham Knight. Um, and in Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, the core gameplay loop is the combat. I'd argue that. It's got another feature in there you may have heard of that was actually, I think it's, I'm not sure the term for this, but I think it's patented, is a gameplay feature. So you can actually do that in copyright law as patent a particular thing. Like Nintendo do that for Pokemon, for example. So they have a patent on the game mechanic of throwing a ball to capture a thing. So no other, if any
Yeah,
other game does that, they can go and sue them and have right to. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so what I think it's Warner Brothers may have patented this, or Rocksteady developed the games, of course. But oh, sorry, not that one. Shadow, what is it called? Middle Earth, Shadow of War, and Shadow of Mordor. Forgotten the developer's name now, but they had patented the Nemesis system. So have you heard of this one?
I think I have. Is that the one where uh, if you kill a certain enemy, uh, a previous enemy that that other enemy would have stopped, now sort of gets tougher, or sort of upgrades a bit, and
Yeah.
therefore kind of comes back to get at you? Or
Yep.
if you sort of not kill an enemy and only wound them and they escape, they sort of come back with a vendetta, like they upgrade or whatever. And yeah, the whole point is that they seek revenge.
Yes, bingo. Yeah, so there's even more than that. It actually takes, it's a great concept because it takes typical grunts and cannon fodder that you get out in the game and turns them into actual characters. So they have sort of little backstories and they have little quirks to them and whatnot. And it is like,
That's brilliant.
it's not super deep. Like you're not, some of the characters you do have in the story, like there's one called Ratbag from Shadow of Mordor, and he sort of is a part of the story, and then he comes back in the sequel as well. But it's the core gameplay loop of these these Middle Earth Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor games is actually going out into this open world, which is the first game's really small open world, but it's super focused. And I actually appreciated that design because it's not like, a lot of these games have a lot of fluff in between. You're doing a lot of, go collect all these things and go do that. And that can be fun depending on how you do it, but it can also be a bit of a tire, a bit of a bore, looking at you, Ubisoft Assassin's Creed games. But this one, it's really great. Is it's basically the main thing you are doing is just walking around this world and killing orcs and uruks. You're not going around smelling the roses. Like you don't. It's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Like in Shadow of War, it's a much more beautiful game, much bigger environments, much more lush, much more dense, and you do have that sense of, I want to explore some of this, but you're actually constantly on edge because every 20 feet or so there's orcs, so you're basically just constantly like non-stop slicing through enemies, and it's fun, but the double-edged sword of it is it's tiring. Like I could only play it in short bursts. But yeah, if I go back to Arkham City, so yeah, you mentioned there about that core gameplay loop, and then there was another thing you mentioned too, which has just escaped me as well, but I'll probably touch back on that again once I come around to it. But
All good.
one of my notes here was sticky movement. So in Arkham City, the game obviously tries to click you into the different things that you're jumping between, which is cool, but they don't really have an out button. And what I mean by that is if you want to jump to just like a meter to the left of that railing, it just magnetically connects you to that. So that's super frustrating.
It just snaps you
Yes.
straight into...
Yes, and it's great most of the time when you're running, trying to get away from enemies or trying to get somewhere quick. Awesome. But there's like some missions actually. There's one mission where you have to try and catch an assassin, and he's a terrorist, and he's going to blow up some hostages, and you have to get from one part of the city to the other in a certain amount of time. And I barely got 2 blocks away because I was like, I'll just run over here and jump over this railing. Oh, no, it's connected to that railing to the right of it that went down a bit further and it's put me into a dead end. Okay, that's right. Well, I'll go up this part here and then connect on that. Oh, no, it's put me onto this other part. I'm looking the other way now. And, that happens so much. I tried this mission 4 times, and then that was probably my quitting point. I went, stuff this. This is just not fun. I'm not able to pick and choose where I can go. I don't have that, like I talk about in previous episodes, when I lose control of the character and the game that I'm in, that I can't control, lose that power, I just don't want to play it anymore. I'm just like, this isn't fun. I'm beating my head against the brick, or I'm fighting the game to try and get to the fun part, and it's like, no good. So that Arkham City was really bad for it. Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor were pretty bad for it as well. I'd say War actually, surprisingly, the sequel was worse for it, and that's really annoyed me a few times where you can basically, like, there's no fall damage, so you can jump from these towers like you do to unlock areas of the map and whatnot. But you might be like, I just want to jump down to this part here, and you got a couple of options. You can hold A to jump forward, and he jumps like Superman. He jumps like 3 towers over, and I'm like, no, I just wanted to drop down. So then you try and do drop down, but it's like half of that, so it's still quite a big jump. And then if you just want to drop down directly, you basically have to ledge off, like hang down and then drop down, which isn't fun. It's really awkward. So yeah, that's really clumsy way of doing it. And
That's exactly what I was about to say. That sounds very clumsy and clunky.
yeah, yep. Signposting. So I've put in here a note. Well, so again, ChatGPT summarized on here for me again. Excuse me. Some objects are well signposted, while others look for clear. Yeah, very good. So yeah, there was a fight where I had to. You fought Mr. Freeze was actually one of the best parts of the game. And I remember that from playing it the original. I think I got this confused with Arkham Asylum. You might fight him in that. I can't quite remember, but I'm pretty sure it was this one. Really great boss fight. Like Mr. Freeze adapts to the way you have to basically always get him from stealth, or you have to trick him, like put him into traps. You can't just take him head on. He just takes you out in no time. And I love that. Like it's playing with the whole stealth mechanic. I love games that have stealth mechanics. So you're going to be really clever. So you might like one time attack him from, you're hiding behind a wall and you jump out and attack him. Great. The next time you try and do that, he'll already block you and hit you onto the ground and take a good bit of damage out of you. So I'm like, okay, well now I might need to do a ceiling takedown. So I'll do that. I'll do it from a grate. Okay, do that. Eventually you run out and you have to actually go through all the different bags of tricks. So that's a bit of a positive there. That fight was great. But following the fight, you get told like, okay, well now we need to go XYZ. You need to go to this place. I'm like, great. And then you get out to the front and like, oh, I can't go out through the front door. That's been blocked off by Mr. Freeze's stuff. So I'm like, okay, what do I do here? And typically in a good, well-designed game, I'll go back to Zelda a lot, is you'll you do something, defeat an enemy, and then you get a little jingle playing, and the camera pans over and gives you a clear indication of where to go to. This game didn't do that. It was very much like, even in the audio, I thought maybe I need to go back and re-listen to what he said, but no, it was just like, you have to figure out how to get out here. And I spent so long trying to figure out what I'd done, and what I didn't realize was probably about an hour ago, I unlocked through the tutorial of the game running and sliding. And you're actually meant to run and slide under this particular electric pulse or current that was going through this area. But up until you're doing that tutorial bit, you'd never use it again. And that's really not great reinforcement learning in game design. Like, again, Zelda, you'll get or Mario, you get introduced to a platforming challenge. It'll be very simple, very easy. You can't stuff it up. The next one, it's a little bit more challenging. And then the third one, they do a twist on that mechanic. So this game failed there. It was like, I'm going to teach you a thing an hour ago for some arbitrary reason, just for a tutorial, and then you just have to figure it out later on when you're going to use it. I was like, that's just not great. So I had that mental note when I was going through. I'm like, that was pretty poor, you know. The funny thing is though, throughout the game, it does actually teach you pretty well stuff, and it does use it again. But for this particular case, it didn't. And I didn't have that problem in Arkham Knight. It was really good at doing that reinforcement learning.
Well, again, the other thing I find as well is I think certain movements or certain actions of a character should be innate enough that you shouldn't have to, have to retrain your hands to do something in an awkward manner to make a character move or do a particular I guess moveset or skill. Because something should like there are certain things that are just natural. Like, for example, when I pick up a controller when I'm playing, when I was playing, and again, now this is going back to even I think before a few of our listeners or anyone listening might have actually even been old enough to hold a controller. But when I was playing sort of Mortal Kombat Trilogy on PS1 and, then any other Mortal Kombat games on PS2 and PS3, they always use this this controller scheme where I think it's the two L1 button, or sorry, L1 and R1 were block, and R2 and L2 were run. So you could run and back and forth. And if you double dashed forward, or if you double tap forward, it would dash forward, like for a short bit, double dash back, time for double dash backwards. But those were very innate. And I think even Street Fighter, one of the Street Fighters sort of followed a very similar sort of scheme. And you sort of, you were able to sort of pick it up and immediately work it out. And, a lot of the games, shooters or whatever, there was always, oh yeah, that's shoot. That's, the same way we use the X button, or as PlayStation UK would like us to know, the cross button.
Yeah.
That you immediately go down for that for jump. That was jump, or that was accept. And then, everyone freaked out when, like, Japan sort of was like, oh, why circle accept? It being a Japanese device, is that circle is actually a ring or a tick in their, I guess, culture, or, they don't have a tick for when something's right. They have a circle.
Yep.
And, the X being incorrect. So, like, deny.
Yep.
So it kind of follows the Nintendo BA sort of setup. But, there are conventions. There's something that, makes it innate. When you have to go out of your way to sort of press a certain button loop for a particular movement, especially when you have to do it quickly, and you have to sort of retrain your brain to learn that, it kind of really throws you out of an immersion, especially if you're playing more than one video game, as a lot of sort of us older adults sort of do. We don't just play one game. You kind of have to go, oh, crap. And, you might be able to pick it up again quick, but it becomes exhausting and or throws you completely out of a game loop, and you think to yourself, all right, that was on me, that was my mistake, but seriously, who does up, down, left trigger and triangle to actually make to do a simple roll and dive? It becomes so obnoxiously what's the word, not obscure, I guess, obscure.
Yeah, and I mean, unless you're going for that for specific reasons, but it's hard to see. Like, you just want to make a game easy, and some of those universal buttons, why do you muck with it? But anyway, it's a choice. And speaking of that, like, that just reminded me, I don't know if it was Arkham City. I'm going to throw it under the bus here, but there was at least a game I played, and whenever you go into the map, you'd press start, or what the old days used to be start. I don't know what you call it now anyway, but it's the start button that's on the top right, and then to exit it, you actually had to press like B or something like that. So instead of just start again, like every game in existence does, but if you press start again, it'll open up into a different menu. And it drove me nuts. I don't know if it was Arkham City, it might have been another game, but it's like, who designed this, man? Like, come on, if you're going to put a modifier in there, do a different button. So, yeah, anyway, that was just that. But yeah, so that's, I mean, there might have been more stuff there, but I'll leave that at that. But yeah, I basically ended up quitting Arkham City and I'm not going back. And I feel like I'm the crazy one because I went back and looked at reviews and videos, and nobody else really had that. It might have been a me thing, but anyway, that was enough for me to make me quit. So I'm in no rush to go back to Arkham Asylum. I kind of wanted to look at that with rose-tinted glasses, and just that was a gem because Arkham Knights filled that gap. But yeah, so the next game I picked up was Middle of Earth. Shadow of Mordor, so it's the first one in the series, and I actually have had that in my Steam library for I reckon about 5 or 6 years. It was a game from like 2014, 2013, something like that, and I remember all the buzz around it, and I really wanted to play another Lord of the Rings game. The last Lord of the Rings game I played was The Two Towers on PS2. That was an absolute crack up, but I don't know if that's probably aged poorly, but I remember that being a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just wanted to dive into that world again. And I remember hearing at the time that this was, again, another one of those Game of the Year contenders, mainly because of this Nemesis system. And that gives me a bit of pause because you think, oh, it's just one little thing in there. And it is good. It doesn't completely make it, but it's, yeah, like I said, it's kind of the good thing about the game, but also the part that makes it, it has a shelf life. So I jumped in and played it. Like I said, I love this one. I actually preferred Shadow of Mordor over its sequel, Shadow of War, because the main story you can actually breeze through, I reckon, no joke, in probably about 3 to 4 hours. It's really short. The longest part is sort of doing the setup piece. And if I was going to recommend you do anything, man, just to watch on YouTube, is watch the intro up to the title card. It is one of the best intros to a video game I've ever seen. It's probably my favorite. I'd actually say it's. I mean, there's some games out there that I have great nostalgia for, and it makes that good feeling in my heart of joy, like Breath of the Wild coming out of the shrine for the first time, things like that. But this game being a neutral and coming in not knowing what I'm getting into, oh my god! Like it not only does a great thing where it's setting up the story, but it also does a tutorial of how you play the game. At least like the initial movement and combat controls at the start, and it just combines those really well. And then it has this like real, like shocking. It's quite a dark and depressing intro, but then it sets up like that sense of, all right, I've got a path, I've got a mission, I know what I need to do. I need to get revenge, and then boom, you get the big title card after you've done the tutorial bit. And I was there almost like calling out, fist pumping, yeah, like it really got me fired up. It was so cool, such a good start to the game.
So that's exactly sort of what you want, and I think, with regards to sort of a lot of those, I guess Dark Souls, Dark Souls, Souls-like games and everything was like when Demon Souls and Dark Souls first came out, the entire intro was amazing. I remember Demon Souls, my brother had gotten, and again at this point I'd stepped away from gaming, and and he was playing it, and the intro was so very high, not high fantasy, but dark fantasy, and this very sort of dark, dreary world, and it's fantastical. And then sort of like if you happen to beat the first demon you encounter, the one that everyone dies to,
yeah,
which again, you think, oh yeah, the next part is you go down to this lower level. And there's all these treasures, so you run towards these treasures, but there seems to be like an open volcano, right?
yep,
Or at least lava or something in the middle of this dungeon. You run there, and you start collecting these treasures, but then you notice this huge dragon pop out of nowhere, and he just flames, and you die. And I was just like, "This is fantastic! This is so fantastical!" And it's such a immersive like beginning. Wow, I'm in love with this. This is awesome.
yeah,
Let's let's keep doing this. Let's jump into this adventure.
yep,
But then again, like you said, going back to the gameplay loop, and again, sure, I could progress and be a bit more aggressive, and I think I've said this in prior podcasts, but with Dark Souls, I can't help but grind. Like I did it with Pokemon. It's how I play. I like to enjoy that, and maybe I need to change my play style and try as being a bit more, I think, forward and aggressive, but as well, and understand that the punishment is just really learning, I guess, the gameplay loop.
Mm. Yeah, they're a bit.
That being said,
Mm.
it's kind of hard to enjoy that after like
Yeah,
the fifth time,
yeah,
especially after you've had a long day at the office, a long day, sort of being a dad or a parent, and doing the parenting things and the house things. It's kind of hard to enjoy dying over and over and over again just to learn a gameplay loop.
yeah. That's right. That's a whole lot of kettle of fish. I think we talked before about that, and like Elden Ring was the exception to the rule for me for that. That's why it's if these other games were like Elden Ring, it'd probably they'd all be I'll be singing their praises everywhere. But yeah, in any case, which is one game we could talk about at the Game Award announcements, which is a surprise to everyone. Yeah, so that's so Shadow of Mordor. Story wise, it's pretty good. Like it's basically you're stuck in kind of like a purgatory, so you're stuck between the living world and the dead world. You it's kind of like gives
Hmm.
you the not only the story, like you're basically getting revenge for your wife and kid who were killed as a blood sacrifice to Sauron. Um, and
Right.
and then it also sets up you basically are bound to um, a ring wraith, and you later find out that he's actually Celebrimbor, who is one of the elves or the elf that Master Smith, who crafted the one ring to rule them all. He was tricked by Sauron. He's the one who's
That's
in the lore
amazing.
and all the books, so that's really cool. So you got a link there. He wants
That is
revenge.
very cool.
He wants revenge on Sauron. You want revenge on him as well for that. But you're actually after a particular dude, the Black Hand, which is the Sauron's like basically the SS for Sauron, like the specials, whatever. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
his
you
special forces.
yeah. But yeah, you find out through the game. So the open world's pretty good. Like you do have sort of side missions and whatnot. And they're quite quick and easy to go through. That core gameplay loop is a hell of a lot of fun. And the Nemesis system's really great because like I said, so they're Uruks, they're not orcs. They're like a bit more powered up. They're not an Urukai like you get in the Lord of the Rings movies, but they're between an orc and an Uruk, so a bit more powerful. Um, Typical orcs and uruks, like a lot of them are really dumb. You get the odd smart one, but most of them all just want man flesh and all that sort of stuff. And really great voice acting, great animation. Like all the like the textures and whatnot is a bit aged in that game, but the animation's really good. They set them up really well. They give them character in the way they move. They do. One of the things that's really annoying, and it gets worse in the second game, is every time you come across one of these captains. So you got like your typical cannon fodder NPCs, the enemies that you take out, but you've got a whole bunch of captains that are out in the open world. And
Hmm.
when you come across one, it triggers a little mini cutscene. It does like if you ever seen like Elder Scrolls, where you click to speak to someone and it zooms in on their face. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so this does this as well, zooms in, but they're a bit more lively. So Elder Scrolls are pretty much just standing there and moving their mouth, not much else. Whereas in this game, they're actually like walking back and forth, like pacing, and they really like you can tell it's been
More cinematic.
yeah, and it's motion capture.
Brilliant.
It's definitely motion capture because
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, they move around. It's really good, so it's immersive in that sense. And they yeah, so they'll have things like Drac the human flayer. They'll give them names and whatnot, and then they'll have certain abilities. So they might be like resistance to fire. They're really weak to arrows at the head. So they have different ways to change up how you're fighting them, which is really fun. But the thing it's fun is they do that little cutscene where they do if you've killed them before, they'll usually come back to life once, and then you kill them again, and that's them for going for good. So they'll remember you. So they'll go, I remember you. You slayed me on blah blah blah, and they'll tell you how you might have killed them. But they work it in well. It isn't just like hello there, you killed me with sword at this area. It's more like I remember you. I'm coming back for revenge. You slayed me with that filthy sword of yours, and like they really tie it in well. So the Nemesis system wise, it's really cool because you can, especially if you get killed by someone, you're like, oh, I want to get that guy, and you can mark them for a revenge, and then you hunt them down, and they're like mocking you and I killed you and whatnot, and they're obviously more powerful because they gain levels when they defeat you or they defeat other orcs, so they can fight each other. So they'll have missions like you can jump in and ambush them and try and take out both of them. When you get to a point in the game where you can you command them, so you can control them, and then you sick them onto other captains and onto war chiefs and whatnot to try and gain an army, which is really cool.
Oh, okay.
So it's
That,
pretty cool like that. But yeah, the
that does sound really awesome.
it is
To be quite frank, um,
it's the game I'd recommend. Don't do Shadow of War, even though it's newer and it's actually a bit more polished and a bit easier to play. Shadow of Mordor is really quick. Like like I said, you can probably spend maybe if you do a bit of side content that maybe 8 hours max in the game. That's all you'll really need.
oh, fantastic. Yeah, look, that looks like it's more up my alley. I mean, and again, and I guess I want to reiterate to the listeners, um, not so much to the older ones, the ones in our I guess age bracket, um, but when you're working full time and you've got like just to maintain the status quo of like living, a game that is like 40 hours long, and after you've played maybe 3 4 hours of it and you realize that it's going to be the same game loop, and all you're going to do is maybe face slightly tougher enemies and or progress the story, um, you kind of have to start picking and choosing
Mm.
on theme your battles,
Yep.
as it were.
Yeah.
You have
Nice.
to sort of and sort of choose where you're spending your time. I mean, because again, it's not to sort of put off a lot of the game developers or whatever, but you know what? When a game has a bit more of a right, you've got a exploration section, a um, combat section, maybe and I'm saying this very loosely, not because I'm into just the sort of crafting games, but if you have like a component where you have to either upgrade or craft or, you know, side missions that aren't all fetch quests and or, um, what's the word? And or, what's the word? Not chaperone. What's
Oh yeah,
um, the good old
yeah, I know what you're talking about. We have to follow the person and make sure they don't get hurt.
yeah, follow the person.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'll just go with chaperone because I cannot think of
that'll do. Yeah.
the gamer term. Yeah,
Yep.
quests. You know, those are the games that you kind of want to come back to and keep playing. Not just for the story. I mean, if you got an immersive story, even better. But again, why do people go back to Call of Duty, Battlefield, um, what's the word? And a lot of the Mario games like on Switch,
Mm.
because the gameplay loop is short, sweet, simple, and it's
Yep.
addictive.
Yep.
It is addictive, and it's sort of what you want in games. I mean, again, not to say don't do anything different and all that other stuff. Please do something different. Do other creative things. I mean, but also make it. I guess don't drag out a game for the sake of dragging out a game. Like,
Yeah.
don't drag out a gameplay loop that relatively you can master in 8 hours for 20. Like, it's better to leave people wanting more and perhaps do something in the sequel than to exhaust a person playing a particular gameplay loop.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Just my 2 cents there for the rant.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. I was about to say try and do an optimistic uptick. Like I think developers are starting to learn that now, but there's still that. Like again, Ubisoft do that with their games still. Like actually one I did try getting back into again recently was Valhalla, and I dropped off because I was
Mm.
bored. It just is the same. You just rinse and repeat, and it's not very fun. So I just gave up on that. I've tried that 3 times now, and I'm done. So. But anyway, yeah. The other thing I wanted to say was so Shadow of Mordor was that, like I said, good enough length. I could have done a lot of. Oh, that was what I wanted to say. So you going on and taking on. So when you do kill off captains, they actually do get replaced. So time, like you can eventually get to the point where you've wiped the entire. You get like you go into this view where you can actually view all the captains, and you can look at like. You don't really look at the history of them, but you can look at their weaknesses and strengths and who they might report to and who they may be having a feud with or a clash or they're going to do an ambush or whatever. And then you can actually wipe out that entire view, but at a certain points throughout the game and the story and different things that you do, it advances the time, and then other captains replace them. They get promoted. So that's that perpetual game loop. You can go on forever doing that, but that does naturally just leach to an end where it's not really that interesting because you're not online, you're not playing fighting against other people. It's literally just the computer, and it's like, okay, that's done. But it's good though. Like it wrapped up well. I could get the story done. I could do as much of the side content I wanted to, and it wasn't great, but it was okay. It had some little bit of character moments here, which was cool. And that was it. I was really good. Now, when you one thing to remind, so remember how I said that you can probably the biggest annoyance in this game is when you have a captain come up to you on the field or you stumble across them or whatever, it plays these little cutscenes. It can happen where you go to an area, especially if you're on a story mission or a side mission, they just appear. And so you could be in the middle of a fight and you could have I had 4 of them, no joke, 4 of them in one area. So I was like taking on one, and then halfway through attacking him, the game freezes, zooms in, oi, ranger. And then he does this spiel. I'm like, okay, whatever, dude, I'll get to you soon. Keep attacking. And then again, another one pops up, and then another one. And it's like, all right, enough, guys. Just, I wish they had that foresight to maybe not even bother with the cutscenes there. They got much worse with it in the sequel. So in the sequel, you can actually be ambushed. So you can have, again, I love that they've got stealth in this game, which is pretty forgiving, if I'm honest. Like you can pretty much walk right up in front of an orc and take him out. That's pretty bit like, okay, whatever. But there's one mission where I was clearing out a camp because it's especially in the sequel, you can get overwhelmed pretty quickly, and it can be too much to take on enemies, which is all right. You sort of get around it and, climb. The way you do it is orcs aren't great at climbing, so you can climb up on structures and jump over a few structures, and then they get lost and don't know where you are, and then you can start again by picking them off one by one. And then this one mission that I'd failed a couple of times from really, again, getting overwhelmed, I was like, all right, I'm going to go into this mission now, and I'm just going to pick off all of these surrounding people around this captain I need to get to. And I got all the way to the last 2, and I'm in an outpost, by the way, too. If they see you at an outpost, usually what happens is while you're getting attacked, there'll be one orc that'll run off and go and raise an alarm, and then they just perpetually keep coming. Like you just can't beat them.
God.
So yeah, you basically just have to get out of there. But so this one mission I was doing that, and I'd got down to the last few, and then I was just about to jump down on one, and I got an ambush, and I was on top of a structure that was really high up, and the orcs don't normally jump up there. I was like, oh, you're kidding me. So, of course, I started attacking him, and then the other orcs heard them, and then one ran off and did the outpost thing, and that is so frustrating. So I actually looked up, and I tried to look up online to see if I could turn that feature off. No, you can either lower the difficulty, which it did, and that means it happens less, or whatever. And I lowered the difficulty. The game wasn't fun then because it wasn't really much of a challenge, so I went back up to normal, and I just had to put up with it. But it's so frustrating that, and when you said a good game keeps you wanting to come back for more, that's what happened with Shadow of Mordor. I was like, that was great. I really enjoyed my time with it. I'm really curious to see what the sequel's like because I'm sure there'll be quality of life improvements, which there were. It felt better, it ran better, it looked better. But it is so much more bloated. You talked about that 40-hour plus. It is like that. You jump into a map and there's you could basically go through most of Middle Earth maybe you can't do the Shire, but it's all the Midlands, and I think they call it, and the Gondor, basically all the Gondor areas and Mordor, and each area is quite big, and it is littered, absolutely littered with icons, and it's just overwhelming. And I was just like, oh, dude, I started to okay, I'm just going to go for the main story quest to try and get through this, and then the story was unfortunately really poor. And a side note, I don't like ranting about this, like I'd mentioned to you last time, but it was the game came out in 2017, right around all that Gamergate stuff. It reeks of the main one of the main characters in it is a Mary Sue. And it's just that frustrating. Oh my God. It was she knew everything. Her father was trying to protect. It's actually interesting because it's set between the events of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So you're actually helping at the start of the game defend Minas Ithil, which turns into Minas Morgul, which is the lair of the Witch King. So you get to see the downfall of that, which is really cool. But
okay, that is cool.
Yeah, so you got this Gondorian king or steward. I don't know if he's king or a steward, but anyway, he's the lord of Minas Ithil, and he's just he's a hopeless leader and whatnot. And his daughter is all of a sudden super strong, and she's the one that makes the tough decisions. And I was like, it was too blatant. Normally I don't mind if it's written well, but this is so blatantly diversity, equity, inclusion into it. I was like, this is just garbage. So having too much repetitive gameplay loop, too many side quests that meant nothing, and then plus his story, I just ended up noping out at about 12 hours into the game. I gave up on it. So there you go.
No, well, look, I think you said it with what you said before. overwhelming. Like,
Mm.
don't get me wrong. I mean, look, quite frankly, I did enjoy playing No Man's Sky with you.
Yep.
I mean, dude, anything with you um,
It's more fun with peak friends.
is fun. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is fun.
Yeah.
But when I first started playing it, just to get everything started, it was I just got bombarded by screen after screen after screen of like, did you know that you could
Yeah.
do? Did you know? And I was like, okay, this is a lot of information to take in within the first minute.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? This is just way too much.
Yep.
Um, and that's sort of the same thing with certain maps. Like, for example, like a game with Gran Turismo, right? Sorry, not Gran Turismo, Grand Theft Auto.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's great that there's a huge map, but you kind of need an excuse to go to all those points. What's the point of like having like a little cabin in, off to one hill or whatever when unless you're exploring of your own accord and not doing missions and or progressing the story,
Mm.
you're not going to never see it.
Yep.
I mean, like all that size can be overwhelming. All that information can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And again, it's not this, oh, we're all boomer gamers that, no, 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 no. I mean, goodness sake, we came up in the era that a lot of this stuff was just starting
Yeah.
and, we saw it progress. So it's not about it being, too much to grasp. It is a lot to take on within like the first few minutes. Or if you're jumping in for a quick 5, 10 minute, half an hour session, you don't want to be like, oh, okay, I'm here on the south side of the map. My next mission, or if I want to progress the story, or if I want to get a certain item or upgrade or whatever, is in the northeast section of the map, and there's no fast travel, so I have to so I have to drive there or whatever. And as you're making your way there, you know, you happen to run into either a ambush of enemies and or some other, NPC that's going to get you thrown to another side quest or whatever the case may be, and you're like, all right, I've only got a window to do this. What the hell? And it just becomes this huge mess, an amalgamation of not only information but just it takes you out of the game loop. It takes you out of the gameplay
Yeah.
and the immersiveness of the world. You're like, you know what? I'm like, this feels like homework, or this feels like a chore. I'm not having fun. Like, I wanted to go over there to get a bazooka, but
Mm.
now I have to go run through these four towns, and all of a sudden now I've got like a particular, um, bounty on my head or whatever,
Yeah.
I've got something. And you're like, I just wanted to go to this one place.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
And that's
so
to point back under the obvious, the one I'll keep harping on about to the day I die. The new Zelda games are great like that. Like they are very much all right. You got a general goal to go to, but good luck. And you're like, okay, so you're just gonna go figure it out yourself. And that sense of discovery of like, what's that over the horizon is so much better in that game because it doesn't dot your thing with a million icons. It just goes off you go. See how you go. See what you find.
yeah, and yeah, exactly. Um, the other thing as well is and again, I don't want to sound negative and all that other stuff, and we have discussed other things, and it's not about being negative. It's about, I think, holding to account um, a lot of, well, aside from the gaming culture itself, but or the gaming world itself, um, it's the creators of the games, and future creators who might be listening, of future developers. Um, it Look, nobody has an issue with a self-righteous character or a good character. It just needs to be written well. Like, I mean, how many times have you watched a show or you've seen a movie or whatever the case, read a book, read a comic book, and you've run into a character, like you said, that's a Mary Sue. There is the reason that that term is, is in existence. A Mary Sue, for those that don't really know, is a character that can never do any wrong and is all powerful and or just perfect.
Mm.
And you
Boring.
lose relatability.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
exactly.
lose complete relatability with a character like that. Who wants to play as that character? Who wants to help that character?
Yep.
The ability to see flaws in a particular character allows it to be more relatable because we are all flawed. And I don't want to get philosophical here, but I mean, when you kind of feel that you can relate to a character, um, then you're more willing to immerse yourself in a story and or a mission and or their plight. making them realistic. I mean, and you might think, "Oh, making a realistic character in a video game, what the? It's high fantasy. They're an elf." Okay, if you're gonna do that seriously, why even, you know,
Yeah,
why even playing this stuff?
it's all about
I mean,
context, isn't it? Like,
exactly. I mean, it's and that's the thing. I mean, there are tons of superhero characters. For example, one of the characters um that I really dislike as a character is Batwoman. I
ah,
mean,
why is that?
well, because Batwoman is meant to be Bruce Wayne's cousin, and she's renowned as a hated character. She is a Mary Sue. She's like this
Ah,
general's daughter who has a chip on her shoulder to prove everyone wrong that she's this ultimate like badass, doesn't accept help from anybody, but can never do no wrong.
is
And you think he
sorry, is she Barbara Gordon? Is that
no, Barbara Gordon's Batgirl.
oh Batgirl?
Um,
Okay, who's
yeah.
Batwoman then?
So you got
Yes,
Bruce Wayne's cousin. I can't remember
cousin.
the name of the character.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know her
but
actually. Yeah.
she's so unliked. Like when they do the Bat family, they include all the Robins, they include Barbara Gordon, then they include a few other ones. I can't remember the name of one of the new ones, but these characters are so liked. Like
Yeah,
Selena Kyle as
built out well.
Catwoman.
Yep.
I mean, she's this flawed character who
Yeah,
is a thief. The typical archetype, the thief with a heart of gold.
yeah,
Everyone loves her.
yeah.
Or like Barbara Gordon, like
Yeah, she's
yeah,
written
she's
great in the
extremely.
Arkham Knight games. She's really good.
Oh, yeah, she is amazing because she's like this extremely intelligent character.
Mm.
Like some of the worst things has happened to this character,
Oh
and
yeah.
like the world is up in arms. Everyone loves her, and,
Yep.
and again, it was like, oh, because they make her out to be sexy, and like, no, 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 it's not that. It's that she's this lovable character. Like, she's got this plucky attitude. Like, Batman was like, listen, when she figured out who Batman was, she was like, I want to join, the Bat Force and stuff. And Batman was like, no, not doing it. And I don't care if you tell the world, they're not going to believe you.
Mm.
And she's like, well, she says, I'm not going to do that, but I want to join. And she kind of like went out of her way to like kind of help out. And so you love that plucky attitude. You think, oh, yeah, she's really cool.
Mm.
I mean, so it's not about, hating on a character because either they're a woman, they're trans, they're whatever, and, they're not men and, only men can be assholes. The fact is, nobody likes an asshole, regardless of how they identify.
Mm.
You want a character that you can actually either relate to, sympathize with, empathize with, or want their story. It's like this constant thing that I keep seeing in media. And again, you and I both know an amazing person who is a lesbian, and also I know other lesbians in my life who are absolutely amazing, incredible people, and they all agree that this whole archetype of a lesbian having to be this butch, aggressive, wannabe man character is so demeaning. It is so degrading to them. It's not. It doesn't show reality. I've known like a lot of these couples that who do present to be more, um, I guess the more dominant of the pair, to be some of the most sweetest, compassionate, empathetic people that I've ever met.
Mm.
And to have characters like this represent them is such a disservice. It's such a, poorly written archetype because
Is it any character in particular, or is it just generalizing?
generalizing it seems to be a particular archetype that I've seen
Mm.
not only in movies, TV series, but a few other things as well, and in certain video games. That typical, you know,
Oh yeah, yeah,
oh yeah, yeah, the your short hair, big buff woman, that sort of is like a really poor imitation of what a 10-year-old thinks a tough guy is, sort
yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
Like when it's nothing like that. There's so much complexity to a lot of these people who are of different walks of life. So it's the same thing that I hate as a Hispanic or Latino person. That how do we make a Latino person? How do we make people aware that they're a Latino person on a movie, in a movie or a TV show? I know, and it's what I love to call, let's give him the Spanish Tourette's, because for as long as you've known me, I occasionally have to stop in the middle of a sentence and talk really fast in Spanish and say a lot of Spanish swear words. Or anytime I see
Yeah,
delicious
okay.
Spanish food, I have to go, que rico. What?
And then every
you
time he drops something, ay caramba.
I caramba. It's like because obviously I do that in like every day-to-day activities.
I love you say that. Then your gamer tag or the one of the for the thing I
I
spelled
know.
Virgo. But yeah, no, I see what you mean. It's yeah, I mean that's probably ultimately the reason why I bailed on Shadow of War. I'd still, yeah, like I said to you, if you're gonna curious on it, I think Shadow of Mordor is an excellent look at that gameplay loop. To me, it's a really great example of a really well made open world game. And when I say open world, it's like they're sort of like open zones. So you'll go to a particular area,
Okay.
and it's open world in there, but then you've got another area you go to, but you have to fast travel to it, which is fine. But it's like generally speaking, like it is that you've got your missions, the different missions you can choose from out in the field and go to them. But yeah, it's short and sweet, punchy to the point. I wouldn't say I regret my time with Shadow of War, but it was just disappointing that they got a bit too big for their britches, I think, and went a bit overboard. So
No,
um,
I think you said it correctly. I mean, it like you don't have to make a bigger world
I,
just because
we'll
you
take
had
it
a
back.
hit with something. I think.
Just to say, to defend it, probably wasn't the developer that suggested that. It was a good chance it was the publisher, which was Warner Brothers, whoever owned the rights. They probably like make it bigger and better, as they usually do when they see the money coming in.
And again, I mean, side topic, I guess. Hence the reason I have such respect for Ryan Reynolds for sticking to his guns when making Deadpool
Yeah.
and Wolverine.
Yep.
We need more developers who do that. In quite frankly, we need more developers, more people to stand up for their vision. Um, don't make it. I mean, don't just make it marketable for the sake of it marketable. If you have a story to tell, if you've got a gameplay loop that you genuinely think people will enjoy, you will find your audience. You
Mm.
will find your audience, and I mean we gamers, I mean, we should we should not gatekeep. We should not dismiss something just because it's new. We should be supportive. We should be open to new sort of ideas. But at the same time, we don't want politics in our games. We don't want to remind ourselves of the troubles of the world. That's why we play games to
Mm.
escape.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if anyone who creates a game is listening, yeah, there you go. I mean, from somebody who's been playing games, goodness me, now for 30 years, 30 maybe even longer, 33 years perhaps. Um, it, yeah, look, I mean, you have to remember Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, and before all of that, Pong.
Mm.
These were games that people loved. So
That's a good
if Pong,
segue, I
mm,
reckon, into the game I'm going to speak about next. Um, Balatro. God, I keep thinking it's Balatro, but it's Balatro, I think. And it's so this is the one that's taken the world by storm. We talk about bloated games and lack of the vision and getting a bit too big and whatnot. This one nails all of that, and it's funny you mentioned sorting out your story. I listened to there's a podcast called Game Maker's Notebook, I think it's called, and it has people from I think on this particular podcast, he's actually a developer based in Melbourne, so an Aussie bloke interviewing Local Thunk,
brilliant.
who's the developer of Balatro. He's Canadian, and one of the questions he asked was like talking about a story. Like, was there never an idea to have story? So in Balatro, it's basically a spin on poker. You get to play your poker hands, and it works like a roguelike. So you got goals you got to hit, like
Okay.
chips you got to hit and you run, and then you can augment that with jokers. So you basically have special cards that sit up as a part of your deck, kind of like a deck builder. You build out your deck there with these particular cards that give you bonuses for your points. And the publisher actually, when he went to his publisher, said, "Oh, you maybe want to consider a story," because they've found obviously through their research and feedback and whatnot that gamers typically
Hmm.
stick to that. So things like Slay the Spire, which is a card deck builder roguelike from a few years ago, was a big hit and that had a story. And there's been Inscription and a lot of these other sort of card deck builder games have all got stories attached to them. And honestly, that was probably the main turn off for me. I don't really care. I just want the game to be fun. And
Exactly.
This
I
one
mean,
didn't. So his compromise is he's got a little Yoda tutorial at the start of the game, and you have the little joker. So he's a little joker there. He sits in there and talks you through the start of it, which is great. It's not very long. It's like about a minute tutorial, if that. You actually play through the tutorial, so it's like your first round on the deck. And then I think when you lose, he does like a little thing as well. And then from then on, he only pops up when you lose a run or you win a run with a little smart ass comment, which is funny. But that's it. There's no other story. There's no end goal. You can play it perpetually. You can just keep trying to get better and bigger runs. And it's great. It's I don't know if there's anything else you want to learn about the game. I just wanted to shout that out. I didn't. I suppose the thing is I was waiting for it to come out on phone because it looks like a great phone game to me. And I've always looked for a phone game that isn't riddled with ads, that is a premium game I can just purchase and play on the fly. Like things like Tetris doesn't really work because I prefer the buttons. I don't like the touch screen sort of thing. I really loved a couple of games on Apple Arcade, but they're only on Apple Arcade. I can't play them anywhere else, so that's a shame. And I'm not going to pay for a subscription because it's just the way I feel. But then Balatro was later last year, got released onto iOS, and I dove in. I took a chance, $15. So I was like, it's a reasonable investment on a phone. I was like, I'll give it a go. Everyone's talking about it.
it
And
is.
I think you can get a refund within 7 days or something on iPhone anyway. So I was like, at least I can do that. So jumped on and I haven't looked back. I've been playing it daily. I've done train rides again. The same thing. I haven't even bought my Steam Deck some days because I've jumped on the train. I'm like, I've stuck my nose in the phone, played this game. It's so good.
No, that's fantastic to hear. That is it. I mean, I've seen a lot of games that have sort of come out on Google Play or whatever that are like $15 or whatever, and I can never justify it. I can never make that leap,
Yeah.
just because but I'm very glad to hear that actually has worked out. That like a good game, you know, that because again, your phone is in your pocket.
Mm.
You're not having to take any other device. If you can get something to do that, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
With regards to the story, I think that depending on the type of gameplay, sometimes a story is required. Yeah, cool, fine, fantastic.
Mm.
Other times, you know what? No, a story isn't necessary. I
Yeah.
mean, it's enough to what's the word? It's enough to just enjoy the gameplay itself.
Yeah.
Like for example, chess. I've got like a chess app and a few chess games.
Yep.
I don't need to know that I'm playing chess with death and I'm fighting for my soul, my life, and there's this I'm playing chess.
Mm.
Like it
Some
doesn't matter.
like that. They spice things up, and that's all the best to them. But yeah, I
Yeah, I
typically
mean,
like I don't give much. Like I couldn't even tell you now. So I just went through. It's a bit of a palate cleanser. I went through Super Mario Wonder again recently. Finished that again. So that's the second time playing through, and I'm going through Echoes of Wisdom again for the second time. Just because after Shadow of War, I was that frustrated and stressed out from playing it. I'm like, I need to go back to some comfort games. So playing them, and I. I mean, Echoes of Wisdom's got more of it's a pretty good story, and I told you about that in the last catch up. But Super Mario Wonder, like the Super Mario games, really aren't that complex. Go get Bowser. That's basically it. And they got like little,
yeah,
they try and color it in, but the characters are nothing. They're more for the kids.
exactly. It's go save the princess. Make
Yeah.
it from left to right. You win.
Yep.
Um, it yeah, and I guess more to the point when what I was saying previously with the story stuff is yeah, you're right. Some people like to read into things. I mean, hence I think it was Inscription. It's got this whole extremely horror based backstory, and there's all this other like you know um fan servicey scary stuff to it, like spooky pasta or whatever it is, or whatever they're calling it these days. um but on the flip side of that, I don't think you need to enforce or force a developer or a company or whoever's making a game to include a story for the sake of including a story.
Mm.
Don't care.
That was
The game.
full credit to Local Thunk. He said no. He said basically the compromise to keep them happy was to do that little Joker dude. Well, it turns out he liked that idea in the end, but he said it just he loved. I'm not sure if he said in the interview, but it might have been like just having that control. Like he really likes making games. It's funny. He's really quite humble dude. Like he won. Speaking of Game Awards, he won a Game Award for best indie or debut indie or something like that. It might have been, and He wasn't there to
That's
accept it.
amazing.
He sent they from the publisher and they said in the acceptance speech that he just doesn't like the limelight. But he said in his acceptance speech he shouted out 2 or 3 other indie titles. He said, indies really need support. Go support these guys. So good on him. But yeah, even in this interview, he was pretty reserved. And he said, like he's actually been that stressed making this game and getting it on other platforms. Been great. Like it set him up for his life, but in terms of money, the income. But he said he actually genuinely enjoys making games. He rarely actually plays games anymore. He mainly just loves making them, tinkering, putting things in. So he just says he can't wait to get back to that. And yeah, on the point of having the publisher involvement, they get in and like they're interested to help. They also make suggestions of what you could do. And he basically knocked back most of them. He just said, "I'm doing my own thing, and this is the way I want to do it." They went, "Sure," and he's got the success for it.
That's fantastic. I mean, well, I guess he's figured it out. He's worked it out, right?
Yeah,
Keep the publishers happy with all that, sort of gimmicky stuff, and make what I want to make.
yeah.
And I can't remember. I think I saw someone on. I think it might have been the Game Awards. I don't know. It was a very short clip, and they
Oh,
were talking about who is going to be the next winner of the next Game Awards next year
oh,
or whatever. He goes, it's going to be somebody who makes the game that they want to play,
oh,
someone
yes.
who does it
That's
like out
Jeff.
of passion or whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing, and that's correct. That's what we need more of, and that's what we want to see. And quite frankly, AAA, studios need to take a page out of uh, a lot of indie created games, um, books, because quite frankly, if it's a if it's a work of love, and again, not to get sappy and be like, oh, if it's a work of love, it will show. I mean, you don't need fancy graphics, you don't need a complex story, um, but if it's a work of love and it comes out where there's no, it's not attacking anybody, it's not doing anything, um, I guess overtly negative, you will see it and and people love it and people will enjoy it. Again, going back to my earlier statement, Pong was a famous video game. Miss Pac-Man, Mr. Pac-Man, or Pac-Man rather,
Mm.
and Donkey Kong. And the gameplay is simple and the graphics aren't that great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, people will see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're interesting because they're very much the first sort of well, yeah, I suppose there were games out then as well, wasn't there? But I mean, Pong, for example, was that was like mind blowing. That was like the first actual proper sit down in your living room, play a video game. So back on the Atari with that joystick. Oh, actually, no, with the dial, I think it might have been in television or whatever it was. But so they had that benefit of being first. But it was a good game, and I still go down like. If someone said to me, "What is your definition of a video game?" and I go Tetris, here you go, and I'll hand them that and go, "This is Tetris," because to me it's like the perfect video game. And
It is.
easy to pick up and play, difficult to master. It's fun, repetitive, and anybody can do it. So it's sort of like that to me is what captures what's fun about video games. And yeah, you can obviously get detailed when it comes to the art of it all, but I think like you and I line pretty heavily on. There's very few games that I play where I go, that was a genuine piece of art, and I enjoyed it for being a piece of art rather than a video game. I'm even trying to think of.
That's exactly right.
I'm trying to even
Well,
think of any. Yeah,
well,
examples
there is okay.
that we've played. Like I mean, Journey popped into
Well,
my head, but that was still kind of fun. I didn't really think of it as much of
yeah.
an art game that was fun, but yeah.
Well, there is one I'm playing. I think it's oh, what's it called? It's actually in my library. It let me see if I can bring it up.
Yeah.
Oh, Arise, a simple story. Arise, a simple story.
Okay, I'll look this up while you're talking.
Um,
Yep.
that to me is very artistic. But going back, I guess further. Do you know one I will say? I mean, yeah, the gameplay itself is fantastic for the time. Um, although it has its flaws, and looking back at it, yeah, it you could say it has bad voice acting and everything, but I guess added to its charm. But and I do see it like a bit of artwork is Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is because, at least for me, that put me in a very tense situation. I remember playing through that, not wanting to use a lot of my ammo because there wasn't a lot of it. Um, and anytime, you had and realizing I had to carry typewriter ink with me because I never knew when the next save typewriter
Mm,
was going to be in order to, but it put me on like a tense, um, in a tense state. I was like really alert, really tense, not scared, but rather tense.
mm.
Like every door I opened, I was like, I don't know what's going to go through
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
And and that subversion of, I think, opening the first door or whatever and having like the zombie come through, and you're like, oh crap, like I'm not safe even if I close the door and go to another room. Um, and just the atmosphere and everything else, that to me, in its own way, is a work of art because it put you in a particular state. It made you feel a certain way. It made you, and maybe that you could call that immersive gameplay. But to me, that's art because I mean, it's something you're always going to remember. You're always going to um, feel. I'm not sure if you're always going to feel that way when you play, but after at least the first time you ever played it, you're going to feel a certain way, and that stays with you. So to me, that's sort of like, yeah, we got more artistic games now, but that to me is art
Yeah, and
because
it's a subjective thing because I was going a completely different direction there when we're talking about um, like we started on that thing of just having a game have with gameplay, no story and whatnot. And there are games out there that are, there's that Until Dawn. There's like recently, I think it was a game. What was it called? Never. It was released that I've seen on awards, and it does look gorgeous. Inside, I think that's what I've been wanting to play, and that one's been classed as art, and it's
Mhm.
telling that story and moving you in a particular way. And again, that is a very subjective thing. Like I resonate with what you're saying there with Resident Evil. Is for me that was Dead Space. That one had me on edge, and there's been nothing else like it. Um, and then if I think to it, to me, what's art is having that combination of in video games, which it does differently to any other medium, is you interacting with the game, of course. And for me, that's like The Last of Us. The Last of Us Part 1 and 2. Just that to me is pure art because of that's one. I was just thinking in my head. So going back to those moments that I think and the swell of
Mhm.
emotion and whatnot like that is I think it's I might be getting either one of them confused. It's either no, it's yeah, end of God of War Ragnarok when you're saying goodbye to Atreus, like Kratos' son. And there's a big swell of emotion and music in there, and oh man, it got me. I was shedding a tear. I'll tell you what,
No,
there's
that's brilliant.
there's
I
just
mean,
moments like that. Um,
like, I mean, again, everyone talks about Final Fantasy VII and the infamous Eris
Aerith, yeah,
scene.
yeah, which
Eris.
is I think it's
I
coming in
mean,
Rebirth, so I'll play that. But apparently it's Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
yep. And again, look, as someone who hasn't played Final Fantasy VII, yes, I know, gamer sin, but the one of the, like I said, the game that for me will always be that, not only for the time I was playing it and what it meant for me during that period in my life, but later on is Alondra.
mm,
And there are a lot of those moments where, characters that you have just gone on a mission with, or you've just been helping out, and they are the background characters. Um, they either do a self-sacrifice, or they pass away, and the game does a fantastic um, uh, 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 way of showing that sadness, because like you know the whole background music stops for the next day, and
wow,
all the characters,
that's
yeah,
cool.
and all you can hear are your footsteps as you're walking through the town,
Yeah,
and like the house itself is like closed off, and if they have family members, the family members, some act in rage, some are really annoyed at you, and so like
yeah,
you're meant to be a hero, why don't you help? And
yeah.
others are like, they don't mean that, or you know and it's just it's quiet, and I mean,
It's showing impact
and
through the medium, which
it,
is
it
great.
and the music is fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, just with like simple little notes, it does so much.
yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, that was a good sort of chat. Generally, we're off on a few tangents, but it was a good sort of chat. But I think in the interest of time, because it is work day tomorrow, we'll keep moving along. Before we jump into the fantasy cricket, maybe just a quick chat about the Game Awards. So you mentioned you didn't see any of
No.
it. So I'll just run through a little bit of the list here, and you can feel free to jump in. I'll talk about some of
Brilliant.
them, I suppose. But so Game of the Year went to Astrobot. This is one that
Oh yeah.
I'm sad that I won't be able to play this because I've decided to sit out this generation of PlayStation now that I've got the Steam Deck. I'm hoping my fingers and toes are crossed that it comes to PC because PlayStation have been much more open to putting their exclusives on. Like Ragnarok came out last year, for example. Final Fantasy Rebirth coming out. That's not PlayStation, but the typically Spider-Man. There you go. Spider-Man. Insomniac Games is Insomniac Studios is a PlayStation studio, so first party now, and Spider-Man 2 is coming out at the end of this month. So I have my fingers crossed that Astrobot will as well. But yeah, did you
And
see?
again, no, no. But what I was going to say, look, just before we continue on, I was going to say, you know what? There would be a big mistake if they decide not to, take on the PC market. I mean, it like you said, I mean, it's just a whole other market.
Mm,
They can dominate, so they will be losing out on a lot of cash. So I'd be surprised if they can't see that opportunity. But with regards to Astrobot, I have seen a lot of news about this, a lot of gameplay, a lot of stuff behind it, and it is a love letter to PlayStation.
yeah, yeah. Look, I
Because it
just want to play
features,
for that, but
yeah,
it's
the
yeah. Go on.
believe it or not, they even feature a Londra
Really?
Astro bot thing. Yep, yep.
Oh,
Some
that's
people have
so
found it on,
cool.
on the forum.
Oh,
So it has a lot of like nostalgic sort of stuff
yeah.
from the last however many years. Goodness me. So yeah, I
95?
would be.
Was that the first PlayStation?
So,
PlayStation 1 was 95, 94,
yeah,
95,
please.
something like that.
I think it was 95. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
I don't think I was 10 yet. No, it might have been yeah, or maybe it was 90. Yeah, no, you're right. It was 95. I
Yeah.
think it came out yeah, the year before we went to the States. But
Mm.
yeah. Um it and again, having got it when it first came out, and like I had one or two games on it. For me, like the PS1 is, well, the PS1 is iconic. Everyone talks about PS2, and that came out when I was in high school. Um, but the PS1 is and forever will be iconic. It is,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
It it
absolutely.
it it, it took on the two big consoles, and now it's one of the titans.
Yeah, well, that's apart from everybody does this in the podcast world, they put Nintendo in its own bucket because it's like way ahead of both. It's absolutely dominated this generation, but um, yeah, it's sort of like it's the gamers game console really. Like when you think of exclusives and that, like I've never been interested in Xbox just because of what PlayStation have been doing with their first party studios. So and yeah, Astrobot. Oh god, yeah, I hope you're right, man. But I have a gut feeling that they're still digging their heels in a bit and go, "Nope, come and play it on our console." So, but we'll see. Um,
And look,
yep,
yeah, it I think, yeah, everyone said, look, it starts off as a tech demo. What started off as a tech demo, and it then evolved to be that love letter. And yeah,
yeah,
it. Look, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I mean, okay, yeah, Nintendo, Sega, uh, do have that pedigree, and and in relative terms, you could still say Sony and Xbox are still the new kids on the block. But the fact of the matter is, Sony has got its history, and the fact that it's you know we're able to I guess look back, especially those of our age, at and think back to our memories of when we first experienced this. To me, it's brilliant because I mean, look, Nintendo, a lot of them are deep cuts, a lot of very big deep cuts when they do anything historic. For example, like the Labo stuff. Um, that was because they actually used to make um, paper toys,
mm,
like before they were even a gaming company. So
yep,
stuff like that. I mean, it has to be like ingrained into the culture, and it's and you got to be like a super fanatic. But with what I've seen of Astrobot, it it's just a callback to everything that they've done and everything that you sort of experienced growing up because we've grown up with these consoles.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, hopefully it comes out to PC. So the next one was Balatro won Best Mobile Game, and it did win Best Independent Game
Oh,
as well.
brilliant.
So that's awesome to hear. Best Adaptation. So this is like TV movie. Fallout won that. Have you seen Fallout, the TV series?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, I
Um,
watched. I watched the first episode. Didn't really grab me, so I haven't bothered keeping up with it.
okay.
Yeah, it was okay. It was a bit light, like it was something like, oh yeah, it was alright. You know, might be good to chuck on. I think it might actually go well with for you and Jody. Like it's quite uh darkish themes, but it approaches it quite light. I think I mean there's like blood and guts in it and stuff like that. But I mean, my sense of you probably should take that to face value for me because my sense of gore is like way off. Like I'm quite immune to a lot of that, but this to me, Fallout isn't as gory as some other stuff is. But it felt a little bit lighter. But yeah, there's definitely some blood and guts in it.
Oh, no, that's brilliant. I mean, at the moment, what we're watching is Yellowstone.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, look, my boss has been going on about it for quite some time, in a good way. He's like, "Oh yeah, you'll love it." And again, my big thing is I get too engaged in TV shows. So when something's like drama heavy or negative, like I guess like a negative, not necessarily negative themes, but those heavier themes. Uh, I don't feel like I've rested. I don't
yeah,
feel like I've taken time to like me time during the weekend. It just sort of carries on. Maybe but here's the reason a lot of the stuff I do watch is either light comedy or sitcoms or reruns because it's like okay, I can have a laugh and just laughing releases that tension. So for me, it I prefer comedy and stuff. But I've been watching Yellowstone and I've been somewhat addicted to it. It's really really good. Um, and yeah, look, I've seen a few things from Fallout, the TV series. Again, I got into it pretty late with Fallout 4. I've gone
mm.
back and played Fallout 1, and
Hmm.
I've kind of immersed myself a bit in the lore. Just for again, look, it's a geek thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
obsess about something and you get into it.
This is Geek
So
Podcast,
I
so yeah,
yeah. So I've immersed myself well
yeah,
said.
yeah,
Um immersed myself in the lore and everything. And look, it's got an interesting backstory. It really does.
mm.
But I'm not a hardcore fanatic. So
I
I'm
mean,
not sure if
to be
look,
honest, hand on heart, I haven't played the first two because they're very different style of
very
game
different.
and different developer. Like Bethesda obviously purchased them and made Fallout 3, but yeah, I've only been playing since then.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say Bethesda really did keep the theme going. Uh,
Mm.
Again, they switched the genre to make it more I think um, in line with what was going on during the time whenever Fallout 3 came out. Um, but yeah, it retains the theme. It is what you would call your old school CRPGs.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yep,
I guess getting back on topic with Astro, but yeah, look, sorry, not Astro, but Bellato. Um, it look, I'm actually really really happy that we're seeing a lot of. Is he an independent developer or is
yeah,
he
just a solo developer.
just himself?
Yeah,
So yeah, look, kudos. Like honestly, I hope he keeps winning more. Quite frankly,
yeah,
I'm glad to see a solo creator or developer getting his dues. That's awesome. That's brilliant. Like again, I've been saying throughout this particular episode, um, if you do something out of love and passion, the fans will notice.
mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, then Helldivers 2 got best multiplayer game and best ongoing game. League of Legends got best esport game. How the hell? Like it's still going. It's nuts. Blackmouth Wukong got players voice. Yeah, you still planning on picking that one up?
I still am. I still am.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Look.
When
And,
yeah.
and again, it is predominantly because I know a little of the story,
Yep.
perhaps more than the common average person.
Yep.
But and again, not I say that with complete humility.
You're all beneath me.
But bow before my knowledge.
That's it.
But yeah, look, for me, it would be to see about the story because I mean, I'd be really interested to see some Chinese based mythology would be really
Mm,
cool.
mm.
Um, so yeah, definitely it's on my list, and
And
it looks really really stylized and cool.
oh,
So yeah,
looks
definitely.
looks gorgeous. So wait, I'm keen. I'm going to wait until you play it and see if you. I'm going to go based off your advice because I've got plenty of other stuff to play, but I am curious. It's been getting a lot of buzz. Metaphor Refantasio got best narrative. Are you interested in that? Like these, this is who's the developer? Atlas. So they do that, and they do the Persona series.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I've been an Atlas sort of fanboy for a while.
Mm.
Like a few of their games. Now again, I wonder if it is Atlas who does um uh or has a hand in making a particular game. I think it's Disgaea. But there's a spin-off from Disgaea called Prinny. Can I really be the hero?
Yeah, I remember
And
you, yeah, talking about that. Yeah.
yeah, it has comedy elements and um
Uh,
what's it called? But
no,
it's also an action sort of an action platformer. I wonder if they do have a hand. It might not be Atlas. It might be a
it's
similar company. I
Nippon Ichi.
Nipponichi. It is it Nipponichi.
Yeah.
So sorry. I this is gonna sound really bad, but for whatever reason, I get Atlas and Nipponichi confused from
That's
time to time because like I've played games from Catherine. That's why. That's one of the other reasons.
so that one I think's Atlas. I think you're right.
Yeah, yeah. So there's been a few games. I've tried the Persona games, particularly
Yeah.
Persona 1. I've tried I think Persona 4 that everyone just kept harping on about because of it's on like PS Vita.
Yep.
I
Bounced off him.
yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah,
Like
it's very anime, right?
and not so much about very anime.
No.
It's very it is in especially in Persona 4,
Yeah.
but it's very I don't know. It's so again, not to make it too long-winded, but there is this sort of I don't know what the genre is, but there's sort of this weird Japanese genre, which is like I don't know if it's like pseudo horror, pseudo um I guess mind um sort
Psychological
of
horror.
so yeah psychological style horror,
Yeah.
where it's almost like there's this unseen world
Mm.
and there's these demons or
Personas.
Tengu, perhaps.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking
Yep.
if I'm thinking of the right word. Uh, but like these unseen world and this demon sort of that sort of are throughout the city, and they're responsible for like every negative feeling and every sort of
Oh yeah.
uh anti-social or anti-society sort of predicament and or I guess issue. So like if the reason somebody has bad luck is because of one of these demons or whatever,
Yep.
it's like it's like there's this weird behind the scenes pseudo Alice in Wonderland, peeking behind the veil, kind of psychological messed up world sort of thing. I'm not necessarily talking about the game. I'm talking about like there's a particular genre, and I don't know the name of it. And feel free to put it in I guess comments if anyone does know, but
Mm.
like there's because there's anime, there's manga about this, like they touch on these sort of similar subjects, and I don't. It's not that I don't get it. It's just
Doesn't
it
click
it,
with
it
you.
doesn't really click with me.
Yeah.
Like oh what's a really good anime? And I know a lot of people would probably be screaming
Akira.
Death Note.
Oh, yeah. Death Note. Yeah.
Okay, no, no, but they're probably screaming like Death Note, where there's this guy who finds like the journal or like a particular book of a death spirit, and any person's name he writes in that book dies.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, but there's more to it. There's a lot more to it. I'm giving the over super simplified version of it,
Mm.
but there's stuff like I think no, I'm not going to say the name because I could be wrong about this anime. But I've seen anime that's similar to this, where like there's this sort of weird hidden world. Oh, Gantz, like Gantz, Gantz.
Yep.
Um, it's sort of like it reminds me of that, where it's like, the world is like continues on, but there's this group of like this special militarized people who at night go out and fight these demons to keep the world safe,
Yep.
and nobody ever knows about it or anything.
Yeah.
Um, it kind of hits the same notes, and it doesn't really click to me. So I played, um, what's it called, the Persona 1, and all it really is, it's sort of like a dungeon crawler. What's the word? Dungeon crawler slash um
It's turn-based RPG. Yeah.
turn-based RPG,
Yeah.
almost Pokemon style battler, because you get like these spirits. Like
Mm.
you fight as well, but you also get these spirits
Yep.
that kind of, fight on your half or your
Yeah.
regard.
Gotcha. Yep.
And the only thing is like Persona 4, Persona 2, 3, 4, 5. They just got better at doing like the day-to-day stuff. Like in Persona 4, you also got to go to school, work with friendships, and like you're right, it becomes more anime in that aspect.
Mm.
You kind of, need to be more social. So it's a bit of they added kind of a life sim to it, or kind of, you're living out this life with the people.
Yeah.
Again, not that I've got anything against it. It is, quite frankly, just I don't know. It never clicked with me. It was never I was never like, oh man, this is great. This is awesome. This game. I just found it kind of boring, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's
and,
never
and again,
never really interests me. I've been curious because they get rated so highly. Like Persona 5 Royale was really highly rated. Persona 4 Reload came out this or last year. That was really well received. It's a remake basically, or upscale or remaster, whatever you want to call it, of that one on Vita. And then Metaphor of ReFantasio got really good ratings this year. A lot of like top within the top 2 or 3 of a lot of Game of the List years, but I look at it and it's just I know I shouldn't say this. Like you've been introducing me, thanks to you for stuff like Princess Mononoke and some anime stuff. But it doesn't resonate with me a lot of the time. That stuff I see it and I'm like, oh, I'm out. Like I don't just not really interested in looking at it. So
no, look, you're not wrong. Um, like for example, I remember one of the game series that I really wanted to sort of get into. Um, was, I think it's pronounced Ys, YS.
oh yep.
Um, because it's on like PSP and PS Vita, and like they did all this stuff, right? It, yeah, it's fun. It looks cool and everything, but and again, I guess the theme of today's sort of, I guess, podcast has been gameplay loops, gameplay, um, in general.
Yeah.
It it was just so repetitive and boring in it. It was like over the top anime, and there are a lot of games like that, like especially the ones I've seen on mobile, which even though it's got huge amounts of fans, I'm never going to get into is
Yeah.
that mobile
Genshin
anime game.
Impact.
What's it? Yeah, Genshin Impact.
Yeah.
That's the one. And whatever
Honkai
spin-offs and
Star
or other
Rail and
ones.
what's that other one? There's
Yeah,
like 3 or 4 of them have come out and they're like, oh, they all just look, they're so bland. They all blend into one. And yeah,
you're
I'm with you.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
And like it's just it honestly it's like anime fan service. And
No, that's that
look,
culture, I
what
guess. I just don't understand that
yeah,
world. But I think I'll
well,
just, yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, well, like as somebody who kind of half is into it, as in like into that world with like anime and stuff, because again, look, I do watch some silly anime. In fact, the one I'm watching now is probably considered to be quite um mainstream, I guess, is Konosuba. Um, and it's a very silly, humorous anime, and like it's an isekai, which means that that somebody, sorry there for a second, for whatever reason, I was like looking at the game, the Metaphor Refantasio,
Hmm.
and the trailer started playing.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Sorry,
come through.
yeah. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
So what I was saying was, an isekai basically means somebody from our world gets transported to a medieval fantasy world, or another type of world. Um, so it's like it's a pretty common genre in anime at the moment.
Yep.
Um, in saying that, about this particular game, um, oh sorry, anime series, yeah, it's very very sort of, I guess, basic, and I do enjoy it, and I find it fun, but at the same time, it's not something I would recommend for everybody and anybody.
Mm.
I would pick the audience and say, listen, you would enjoy this, or like for a fact, I know that you probably would not enjoy it. It's way too anime. It's way
Yeah,
too,
too much.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, too much exactly. And yeah, with I guess those sort of games that sort of Genshin Impact and everything else that's meld into one, it is just really like honestly, I don't. I'm not hating on anybody and all the developers. Like if you like it, good for you, fantastic. Kudos. I hope you get everything and anything you want out of it. But for me, I look at it and I'm like, this is a gimmick to me. This is a sort of a what's the word? Like, do you remember the early days of like those internet knockoff games that everyone sort of wanted to get like on their phones and everything?
Yeah.
When
Yep.
yeah, it just reminds me of that. It just
Yeah.
reminds. It's like I can't afford a proper RPG, so I'm gonna get this.
We have
Like,
RPG at home. Yeah,
yeah,
RPG
we
at
have an
home.
RPG at home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, and look, I've just been looking at this metaphor sort of game,
Mhm.
uh, and okay, this is gonna sound bad, but the throne sits empty after a king's assassination, with no heirs. The will of the late king decree that the next monarch will be elected by the people, and thus begins your fight for the throne. I'm not really. It's
Ah,
not capturing me. It's not really. I mean, look, it looks. Actually, it just looks okay. I'm sorry, but I've seen indie games that look a bit better than this.
yeah, right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
don't.
mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I heard about it. I just took one look at it, saw the art style, went nope. And well, and plus it's turn based. I'm not like I was
yeah,
actually chatting to. It's funny enough. I was chatting to one of my mates earlier today about we don't really. Oh, we talked a little bit about games, but we don't normally talk about them. And we talked about Final Fantasy, and I said how much I was surprised. I really liked the Final Fantasy VII remake, and I kind of got what people talked about the original Final Fantasy VII, but I never really got into the series because I'm just not really that interested in turn based. The last turn-based game I played was actually Pokemon. What was the latest ones called? They were oh
there was Pearl, Diamond,
no later than
and
that.
then there went
S-
Black and White.
White, and Y and X, whatever it was, and Sun and
Yeah, White
Moon,
X,
Sword and
Sun and
Shield,
Moon. Yeah,
Violet and
Scarlet,
that's it.
Violet
Yeah,
and
that's
Scarlet.
it. So I played Scarlet, and that was just more of a nostalgia trip. I think it was just cool, but running around all the Pokemon stuff. But yeah, I just that genre is not really big, and that's why I really ultimately didn't bother anymore after seeing stuff on that. But I might.
No, no, look, you're not wrong. I mean, in regards to that, because sorry, not to cut you off. The reason I say
Yeah.
that is there were a few RPGs I did play, because I mean there was a point where I was like, all right, I want to play more RPGs because I enjoy like longer stories and I had time when I was like at uni and stuff. And a lot of people are like, oh, play JRPGs. A lot of the JRPGs or Japanese RPGs, um, again, anime looking and stuff. A lot were turn-based combat,
Mm,
and even though Alondra is, I guess, what you would call a Japanese RPG, because it like it even has Japanese kanji, I think, like in one of the titles. Um, it's not turn-based; it's
action.
action-based. So it's
Yeah,
like
like
you can,
Secret of Mana.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And turn-based, yeah, I guess it's fun if you're in the right mindset for
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Yeah.
But it can get so boring, like
Yes.
when, especially like when all of them are turn-based, and you've got all these people in your party, and like and the one thing that a lot of these games do, a lot of Japanese particular titles do, is that you'll have them in your party for like about maybe 3 4 missions, story missions, which of course could mean you have them in your party for like 1/3 of the game.
Yep.
And then what will happen is you'll like lose them either to a death or story reasons,
Mm.
and you're like, fuck, I just invested like
All this
several
time.
hours into
Yeah.
this character
Yep.
and item and money, and now it's fucking gone. And
Yeah.
now I've got like another character who does sort of the same crap, but he's like 3 levels lower than what I already had the other character,
Yeah.
and he has shitter items
Yep.
and shitter equipment. What the fuck?
That's cheap. I hate it when they
So
do that.
yeah, and yeah, it like sometimes you can't get rid of them, and it yeah it's like, look, when turn based is done well, you enjoy it, but when like it's a constant, you're like, I want something else. Like,
Change
you
it
stop
up.
giving me pepperoni. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
stop, change
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
Stop giving me pepperoni. Give me something else,
Do some
right?
capsicum on there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I don't think we'll bother with the what's coming up next, just because I've probably only got about half an hour left of me. I'm a little bit tired, surprisingly, but I do want to do this.
All good, my bro.
I do want to do this Fantasy Critic. So if you load up on your end, I've got it up on my end, and we'll sort of
Yep.
do a quick crash course learning while we're here. Basically, all I've done is for listeners at home, I'm using fantasycritic.games, and I've seen this advertised on. I think it's Kind of Funny's podcast. They might have been using it, or someone like that. And basically, the idea is kind of like your football fantasy critic sort of leagues, where you know, in that one you might draft a team, and depending on how they go, the player rankings, you get scores, and then basically at the end of the season, you declare a winner. I think it's just a good opportunity for us to like discuss and keep up with the latest games coming out. I'm sure there's going to be a lot that I want to play. In particular, maybe a bit of a hint to some of the games I might be putting on my list is the Winner Switch 2. So I'm probably going to be picking that up on launch day. Looking forward to some Nintendo games coming out this year, so we're definitely playing those. There's a few other games I can think of that I'll probably be playing. So we're hopefully trying to play a lot of that's going to be on this list. But there's going to be other stuff that we don't. It's going to be interesting to see us to use as a conversation talking point on how they've gone and whatnot. So there's 16 games I think we get to choose from. So we haven't gone overboard. Like, it's not choosing everything that might be coming out this year. It's just a list of 16. From my understanding, you can do 2 counter picks. So in other words, this is hard, we'll have a look at the and feel free to read ahead, Ivan, into the info. But my understanding the counter picks work is if I counter pick a game to you and it goes above. No, I've lost it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into it. Basically, it's a way of trying to score some points off of your picks.
Well, what I have here, it says counter pick.
Mm.
This slot is for counter picks, which are bets against the game. So I'm guessing.
Does it go any more than
for
that? I think it.
No, that was
Yes.
that was like a brief little
Yeah.
thing.
So I think you
Let
get.
me bring up the FAQ.
Yeah, so I think from my understanding and see where you find it, but it's I think if I say pick a game that I say is going to be, so I think you get double points if the game goes. So by the way, sorry, the game scores are going to be coming from OpenCritic, which is I think it's OpenCritic, yeah, from OpenCritic, which is an aggregator of critic reviews out in the industry. And if for any game that's say like over 80, you're getting plus 1 point. If it's over 90, you get plus 2 points. If it's below 80, I think you might get negative points. Could be wrong, but then with a counter pick, as I could go like, let's say I think the game is going to be under 90, and you go it's above 90. If the game is under 90, I'm going to get more points off you. If yours is above, you'll get more points off me. I think that's how that works.
Okay, so I mean, from what I'm reading here, as what is a counter pick from the FAQ? After everyone has drafted their roster of games, the players will draft their counter picks. A counter pick is a game from someone else's roster, but instead of getting points for it, you lose points for it. The goal is to choose a game from someone else's team that you think will be bad.
Yep.
Or one that you think won't even release.
Great. Okay. So we're going to be learning it on the fly. I haven't bothered reading a lot of it, so I'm going to click a button up here that says start drafting. And what I might be able to do is you leave the FAQ up and I can maybe get you to read out if I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
A bit of teamwork here. All right, so I've clicked on start draft. Warning, once you start drafting, you can no longer add or remove players and the draft order is locked in. However, if you need to, you can reset the draft by pressing the reset draft button. That's okay. So I think we'll just caution the wind and whatever learnings we get out of this year, we can pick up for next year if we decide to continue with it. So you are picking the first one. To select a player's game for them, select next game under draft management in the sidebar. Select next game. Unless you can you refresh on your end and see if you get the option to choose? So hopefully you've got a big blue bar at the top. The draft is currently in process.
I've got move games. Let me have a look. See.
Oh, nothing on the right.
No.
Okay, all right. So I might do draft game. Hang on, what does it say? Select next game. It doesn't say select
Mm,
next game, but I've got draft game for next player. Maybe I can do that. What does that do?
Oh, wait, oh, here we go. I've got a green.
Oh,
Hold on, something's just beeped. Uh, no, no, everything seems fine. Sorry, I just heard
okay.
something
Might have missed it.
something beep there for a second.
All right.
No, I've actually no. Sorry, I've just gone back a page. Uh, the draft is currently in progress. It's your turn to draft.
Okay, can you see somewhere like maybe on your list under?
Yeah.
By the way, for audio listeners, so it's great. You could choose your own publisher name. So um, Ivan's gone L Spielbergo from The Simpsons, of course, and his publisher is Bunny Flop Incorporated. So that's a nice homage to the little one that recently one of the bunnies that had gone. I'm assuming that's a bit of it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really nice, man.
Thank you, brother.
And then for me, I'm Big Coit, and mine's Big Crack Productions. So childish. I just had to do
No, I love it.
it.
Right.
Right. So,
Right. It says it's your turn to draft. Okay, I'm gonna press draft game.
yep. And what does he do?
Okay.
Explain to me what
All
you
right.
see.
Oh, okay. Right. So what I'm seeing at the moment is a new window's popped up. It's called Select Draft Game. At the top, there is a game name and then sort of a game search option. Underneath that, it says Show My Watch List and Draft Unlisted Game. Top available by slot, and then it gives me all Reg, NGF, EXP, FLX, and then it says top available games, and then sort of like different pages, as in like 1 to whatever, and then a list of games.
Great.
And they've got Monster Hunter Wild, Ghost of Yotei, Grand Theft Auto 6, Elden Ring Night Rain,
So that was what I was
Sid
going to
Meier's
mention.
Civilization.
That's okay. Yeah, no, you don't have to go through the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got an option because that was the next question: is where we're going to get a list of the games. But it looks like it's got some there already. Now I don't know
Mm.
what happens. I have a feeling if you choose a game that doesn't release, it basically just doesn't score. So that's something you got to keep in mind. Like for me, it's up to you how you want to pick this, but it's a bit of a risk. I think it's a really great pick as Grand Theft Auto 6. We probably know that's going to be overwhelmingly well reviewed. Like I'm thinking mid to high 90s potentially. And but
Yeah, I was thinking that actually. Yeah.
but they've said that it's releasing this year. Every single Rockstar game since they've been doing probably Grand Theft Auto, apart from exception
Uh,
of like those early ones, Grand Theft Auto 4, I think they've all been delayed. So that includes Red Dead and all that. So I think there's a really good chance it's probably going to be delayed. But up to you if you want to take that risk.
Um, you're actually thinking the same way I am because there was this um whole what's it called? Um, sorry, my whole idea was that it will probably be what's the word? Delayed. Was
Yeah.
was so what I was getting at because it's fall of 2025,
And we've
which
only
is
had one trailer, and that was 2 years ago or a year ago or something.
mhm.
Bit over a year, maybe 2 years ago.
Also
So it's like we haven't heard anything else since.
yeah no and the fall of 2025 would be and I'm guessing this is American
Yep,
time.
yeah,
So I know at the moment they're currently in winter.
yep.
So it would be very late in the year. So I think fall is around November. So
Yeah, I think
November, October, November
traditionally they
is their
release
fall.
their big games in October for Rockstar.
So I'm not going to risk it. The ones I'm actually really thinking of are the next three down, which is Elden Ring, Night Rain, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, and Doom Dark Ages.
So I can tell you,
Those,
I'm confident about. Well, Civilization Seven's actually, or yeah, is out like a couple of weeks. It's not far away. It's very soon to release.
it's not far.
Um,
So I'm actually leaning towards Elden Ring.
mm, good choice.
Um, so I'm gonna go with Elden Ring. I'm gonna go with Elden Ring.
Nice.
Um, but again, I was considering both Sid Meier and sorry, Civ 7
Yep.
and Doom.
Yep.
But
Do
let's
you
go with
so do
that.
you know much about the new Elden Ring game?
Uh, not a lot, not a lot. But if it is anything like the previous Souls releases, of like sort of I guess DLC slash like sequel ish sort of thing.
So
Um, yeah.
yeah, it's a spin-off game. So it's
Yep.
set in the Elden Ring world, but it's like a it's like a multiverse setup. Like it's a different thing. It's set in that same universe, I guess you could say, but it's an alternate. Oh, I don't know trouble what I'm saying. It's the same game world, but it's a different universe. But it's still in that sort of thing like that. It's a roguelike competitive. Oh, sorry, roguelike co-op type of game. So you basically have to survive to the night, and then you'll fight a boss. There's no like you don't have bonfires or anything like that anymore. So it's basically they're jumping into throwing their hat into the ring of the roguelite genre. So quite
Oh, right.
something quite different from FromSoft. But I mean, man, they ever let anyone down? Like they are one of the top developers. They're incredible. So I think it's a really good pick. But it's going to be interesting. It's something a little bit different for them.
Ooh. Okay. I wasn't aware of that. Believe it or not.
Mm.
Um. That's actually made me
Yeah, I thought I
potentially
might
reconsider.
let you say that because there's a good chance that this isn't good. They might actually have a misstep. This is their first crack at, from my understanding, I don't think they've done a roguelike game. Like a lot of their stuff is inherently roguelite-ish, but it's still more of an RPG, really. Like you are leveling up a character and whatnot, and not doing runs per
But
se.
looking at everything else though. Um. Yeah, looking at everything else, nothing really, nothing really sort of comes out, or sort of um pops out at me.
Yep.
I'm again looking at like page 6 now, page 7, uh, page 9, 8, 9. Ooh, vampires, the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Oh
I might
wow,
put that
that's
on.
huh.
Yeah, although I've heard that that's been meant to be out for a while,
That's been in
so
development for a long time.
it really has.
Mm.
That might that I'm gonna put up the Wolf Among Us 2, although that
Oh
is to
yeah.
be announced. Um, so depending.
A lot of these games have got
Okay.
windows, so they'll do like 25, 2025. So they can be a bit of a risk. But
Yeah.
I think Wolf Among Us 2 has been in development for a few years. That is, I think that is the team that developed the first one because Telltale Games developed it, but I think a lot of that team were disbanded or it may have gone under. But I think it might be I don't know if it's a new studio and it's the guys from Telltale or it's actually Telltale and some have come back. I'm not quite sure, but I do know. I do remember reading up and seeing that I think it's featuring a lot of the team that made the original, which was really highly reviewed at the time.
You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna go with Elden Ring, Night Rain, because I know I'm gonna be able to put Sid Meier, Doom, Metroid, uh, Like a Dragon, the Pirate Yakuza. Um, don't know about Death Stranding. That I might
Yeah.
pick as a wild card.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm gonna go do that. Elden Ring
Cool.
night thing.
Locked in.
Draft game.
So that'd be your first one. So once it's, oh yep, I just had a bing on my
Mhm.
end. So I don't do it. Oh cool, yeah, I didn't have to update it. It just popped up the top there. Great. All right, my turn.
Cool.
So oh yeah, here we go. So oh cool, you can search by release date. That is cool. All right, so oh okay, so I am going to go unannounced mainline 3D Mario platformer. So unannounced is a little bit of a risk because it's obviously it's unannounced, but look, the last 3D Mario was Super Mario Odyssey, as in the mainline. So they obviously did the re-release of 3D World and Bowser's
Right.
Fury. But Bowser's Fury that was a new addition to that 3D World, and that got really highly reviewed and really a lot of hype around it. I thought the hype was a little bit overrated. It was really good, don't get me wrong, but I felt Odyssey was better as a game. I guess it just had more content, I suppose. But um,
Yeah. Yeah.
the Mario games always review really well. They're always a lot of fun. It'd be dumb
You're
for
right.
Nintendo not to launch the game with a new 3D Mario platformer. So I'm looking at that one as my first pick. On to your next one. What are you thinking?
Brilliant. Um, I'll just wait for it to pop back up.
Oh, has it?
Well, I think it just takes a little while.
Yeah, okay. Because yours is pretty instant, I think, unless you. I don't know. Let me refresh, see what it does.
Yeah, just
Oh, sorry, it's snakes. Yeah, sorry, that was one thing it does. So it's snakes. So it goes you first, then me, then me, then you, then you, then me. So yeah, so I got to draft one next. So lucky,
okay. What
lucky
are you
me.
thinking?
All right. So, God, my next one. I haven't actually really thought beyond that, and I'm gonna pick, which is potentially another risky one, because it's been forever since it's been released, but it's due. Like it's well overdue. I actually talked about this game on probably the last podcast or two, um, and this is the sequel to that game. So I'm picking Hollow Knight Silk Song. The first Hollow Knight was, of course, really highly rated, well loved. It's like one of the best Metroidvanias out there. I crashed with B, but it had a lot to like about it. I ultimately
Oh yeah, no,
quit
no,
that one just in the
you are right.
difficulty.
It is well loved.
Yeah,
Um,
but I think this one will review well. Been cooking for a long time.
so the regular game.
What about you? Is there any others that have been on mine that you know that might be releasing this year? Or you just perusing the list, something that jumps out?
Perusing the list.
Yeah.
Um, so NGF
NGF?
NGF is a new game. I think something or other. What was it? New game, like developer, something or other.
Sorry. Yeah,
Um,
new gaming franchise. A game that begins with a new
yeah, new gaming
series or a
franchise.
standalone game that's not a sequel can be from an existing IP if the IP has never been represented in video games before.
Oh, there is one. It's going to be a bit of a risk. Mina the Hollower.
Oh, what's that one?
Um, I fingers crossed. I'm hoping it releases in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be a bit of a risk, but no, definitely look it up. Mina the Hollower.
Hollowware. Oh yeah. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
this looks
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Action adventure. Yacht Club. Oh, it's the guys that did Shovel Knight. Oh, okay, great pick.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And for my other pick, I'm going just with a regular game, which is going to be Doom Dark Ages. I think that is a what's the word? A change of pace for the franchise. So people are going to either love it or hate it.
Yeah. And I've heard in a recent podcast, I heard someone had listened to another interview or podcast with id Software that said that they apparently heard the feedback from Doom Eternal where there was too much air combat or air traversal, so they're bringing everyone back down to the lower ground, back on the ground again. So there's that. The trailer looked awesome. I'm super excited for that. Actually, I only played a few months ago the that Doom reboot. Absolutely loved it. Fantastic. I haven't got around to Doom Eternal yet, but that's definitely on my list too. But yeah, great pick. All
Thank you.
right. The next one I'm going to do is out very soon, and it's Monster Hunter Wilds. So Monster Hunter typically doesn't. I don't know if there's anything that's been on the 90s for their stuff actually, but
Well,
they've been slowly getting better and better on in terms of the general audience have been starting to really get on it, and I'm going to be curious. I'm actually, from what I've heard from the previews, there's been quite a few people playing the preview. It sounds like it's really cool, so I might actually give this one a crack.
well done. Well done.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason I say that is because Monster Hunter is one of those games like I feel like in a weird way, kind of like Final Fantasy, where it kind of does the same shtick, um, and it just sort of tightens it and it continues tightening it,
Yep.
sort of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah. Look, excuse me, I'll be interested to uh to see what the new one brings. Like
Hmm.
I know a lot of people have loved the old one or whatever the previous one was, uh, for a lot of reasons. But again, if it's like an MMO sort of thing that they're gonna do, then yeah, I think they're gonna get great. Um,
Great
what's the
reviews.
word? Great reviews. Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to do. I forgot that you can actually choose because when you did new game franchise, I just assumed that was it prompting you, but you can actually sort it from the list here, and we do have to choose
Yeah.
them. There are slots in there for it. So I am going to continue with that for my next pick and choose Split Fiction. So this one is I've only heard about it. I don't think I've seen it, but it's again another one that's previewed pretty well, and I think it's a cross between a Portal and another shooter. I can't remember the name now, but it's a really interesting concept. It's basically just using the concept of Portal, and instead of being a puzzle game, it's a shooter. So you can open up portals throughout the battlefield, and yeah, apparently the first. I think there might have been a game before this that used that. It's from the same studio, but it was almost like tech demoy, and they ended up finishing up early on the development of that and started on a full blown sequel, which is going to fully flesh it out. And from what the previews have
Brilliant.
been saying, it sounds pretty good. So that's my choice.
Sorry, what was the name again?
Split Fiction.
Split Fiction, and that was the.
That was the new game franchise pick.
There you go. Let me have a look at this.
Yeah, it's
Just trying to find it where it is, what page.
Split Fiction.
What page is it on?
I just did I toggled the. You might not be able to pick it. It might not appear, but I toggled the NGF in the top.
Yeah, no, I've done the same thing. I've just like.
And I only saw like 5 or 6
Oh.
games there, surprisingly. But I picked it. But if it's not appearing, maybe it's gone from the list now.
Perhaps. So I've gone with EXP, which is. You might have to read that out to me.
Oh yeah, EXP stands for Expansion Pack, a game that is an add-on to an existing game.
Brilliant. So I genuinely, even though there's World of Warcraft, and again, look, it might not come out. The Lies of P. Why do I know that name? Lies of P.
What's that showing up as? Because that came out a couple of years ago.
Oh, it's Lies of P. What's it called?
Was it an expansion?
Untitled. Yeah, Untitled first DLC.
Oh, I didn't realize they're doing an expansion for it. Wow, I thought they were just getting on to a new game. Yeah, so that's that. I think it's a Korean studio, and people have widely touted that as being the best non-From Software Souls-like. It's Pinocchio, basically. So
yes.
Yeah, reviewed really well.
So I'm going to go with not that one. The one I'm going to definitely do, although it says late 2025, is Dave the Diver in the Jungle.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I know that Dave has gotten great reviews.
Yeah.
Although they're talking about Darkest Dungeon 2 Inhumane Bondage.
Oh.
Now, I am a Darkest Dungeon fan.
Yep.
But
apparently that sequel is brutal compared to the difficulty of the first.
Oh, look, the first one was brutal as well, but it was so much fun. It was great. It was such an atmospheric game. So yeah, I'm going to go with Dave the Diver. Just maybe call it safe, but yeah, I'm going to go with that one.
Good one.
And I'm going to draft that game. And I get to draft another one. Claire Obscura Expedition. I know this. Why do I know this?
What's it called? Flare Obscura.
Claire Obscure. Expedition 33. Yes, I remember watching that one. That one, South of Midnight.
Oh yeah, that one looks fucking man. The presentation of that looks amazing. I'd be a little bit reluctant on that one. Like up to you if you want to choose it, but I've watched a bit of the gameplay footage and I think it was Paris Lily on Kind of Funny Games had gone out for a demonstration on it, and there's like question marks around the core gameplay loop. It looks very. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like it's hard to tell with previews. Like I was actually thinking before this podcast, like Dragon Age: The Veilguard previewed really well, really strongly. People were super hyped for it, and when it came out, it actually sort of got it was didn't do as well. So
I'm gonna go with Claire Obscura then.
Yeah,
South Midnight. I just because of what you said about Dragon Age Veilguard, like it looks really cool. It looks like it could be really fun, but because you're this one character that's voice acting, and it's really a matter of like, okay, it looks cool, it could play really cool, but if the character's obnoxious, none of it matters. So
Yeah.
Clear Obscura, I think, is more of an MMO style something or other, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, I'd heard this
Um,
again on a podcast the other day, and I was distracted, but I was like, that sounds really interesting, and I haven't got around to looking at it. So good pick, I guess.
yeah,
It's getting a bit of hype.
thank you.
All right. So yeah, on that I'll do an expansion as well. Let's see what the latest release date. So yeah, you got the Atomic Heart. Oh, okay, Atomic Heart. Yeah, gotcha. Won't worry about that one, I think. Ooh, Rise of the Oh god, there's a few good ones here. Rise of the Golden Idol, that reviewed pretty well. Sea of Stars, that reviewed well. Chained Echoes reviewed pretty well. Destiny 2, ooh, that's always a bit of a risk. Those expansions, they can be either good or a bit average. God, this is tough. I'm going to go with a known, and I think I'm going to go with Rise of the Golden Idol, The Sins of New Wells, just because I heard that's reviewed really well. Nothing more than that, really. So I'll go with that. And then I've got to do another one. So what's this FLX? What's that one stand for? Oh, like a remake. Oh, okay. So the first one that's popped up is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. I I would put that in if it was a shoe in for 2025 because that looks really good.
I know I saw it too.
But I don't know if that will. They've gone a little bit quiet on that recently. So um, yeah, I don't think I will. So what else have we got here? Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake that has gone through remake hell, development hell. So I'm going to avoid that like the plague. Yeah, there's a Tom Clancy Splinter Cell remakes rumored on here. That's not happening. Are these like? Can you check the FLX? Actually, I probably should be able to drop out. Hang on.
Yeah, no. FLX is
Flex.
Flex Lot, a game slot that must have at least one of the following tags: director cut, reimagining, remake, partial remake.
Well, I got to do it anyway because it's one of the slots. So I'm gonna. This is one. This is gonna be my first risk pick. I'm gonna pick Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. It looks like that's going to be a very good remake. I think. I can't remember if I've heard someone played it. Maybe not. No, I think they might have seen it. It might have been a preview where they got to watch it, and they've some of the changes they've made sound really promising. So I'm going to pick that.
All right, brilliant. Let's see. Um. Oh, Ghost of Yotei.
Mm.
I'm guessing it's a Ghost of Tsushima style.
Yep, it's a sequel. Um, Female protagonist looks absolutely gorgeous. Um, but that's a pretty good
Yeah,
safe bet. That that was one where I clicked where people were saying it's a good Assassin's Creed, like it's what Assassin's Creed really should be. It nailed what it was
brilliant.
doing. The combat is so damn good. That's one of those gameplay loops I don't mind. You know, running up when I'm on the middle of a wait or another mission, like, oh, there's some dudes I can fight, jump out and fight them because it's such a good combat
Well,
system.
I'm gonna go with a safe bet and go with Civ 7.
Yep.
Although Kingdom Come Deliverance 2,
Yeah. That's
that I know is gonna get great reviews. Kingdom Come.
well, yes. Again, to put on that, I did hear a recent preview again of that as well. It sounds like that's going to be niche in the sense of it's going for a particular flavor. Like it is focusing on a vision. It isn't like a lot of people think. I think that it's going to be a generalized audience one. Like they're going to try and open it up a bit more. Apparently, they're doubling down more on what made the first one good. They've
Yeah.
just improved it. So could go either way.
Yes.
It could get average reviews and be absolutely loved by some people, or it could get really good reviews because it's improved on all the faults from the first.
Yeah. No. Look. I'm really thinking of it. Maybe putting it on there. I'm gonna go with Civ though because I've got a great feeling for Civ.
Yeah,
It's been a long while since the last Civ game came out, so look, I think that was a bit of a given. Um, and then I'm gonna go with my FLX choice. And you know what? Shovel Knight Hope of Shovel of Hope DX. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remake. Ooh, this might actually be a bit of a hype factor is 5.1 Capcom Fighting Collection.
2, is it?
Capcom Fighting Collection 2.
Yeah, 2. Yeah. So the first one got really good reviews. It's really people. Apparently, some of those games were locked away on arcade cabinets or older systems. And I don't know if have you seen Maximilian Dude, the YouTuber?
No.
Another super geek. He's great, a lot of passion, and he lost his mind. I was watching one of his reaction videos to that announcement. It got announced at the Nintendo Direct last year, I think it was, middle of the year, and people didn't see it coming. Like, it was a real surprise because it's some of those beloved fighting games, and they never expected to see them because everything went silent on it. Capcom looked like they weren't interested in releasing some of them, and now they did, and it's been really well received. So everyone's got their hopes up now for a second fighting collection out. I don't know if that's confirmed, if that list is correct, but yeah, that's just one thing I'd keep in mind.
Brilliant. Just having a look. Oh, look. But then you've got like Shovel Knight.
Yeah,
The question is, how many people really are over that? Because the other one is Dragon Quest, which I do think Dragon Quest will get great. Oh, Max Payne 1 and 2 remake.
yes, God, and it's Remedy doing them too, so that will be fan bloody
Oh,
tastic. I cannot wait for those. That's one
it is
game.
to be announced. It's to be announced, but
Oh,
the question is,
they've confirmed they're doing them, but they don't. Yeah, I'm not sure if they've announced the date. I know they're the games they're working on now. Like they've finished Alan Wake 2 DLC, so they might not come out this year. They might be another year or two
no, I
away.
don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I agree with you on that one. Yuga Replayly. That's
Yes.
no. Um,
No.
no. um, I think. Look, I don't think it's gonna win, but because of its, I think heritage, I'm gonna go with Dragon Quest because it is one that I want to add to my list eventually and play.
Now, which one is that? Is that 1 and 2 HD?
Yep.
Because I can't remember which. Hang on, let me just check because that might be a typo. Because I have a feeling they released. It's either 3 got released or Dragon Quest 3 remake. Yeah, so that one came HD 2D. Yeah, so okay, so one. So HD 2D, yeah, 3. Okay, so 1 and 2 is the next one's coming out. Yeah, so that's correct because 3 came out late last year or earlier in the year. Sorry, I just wanted to confirm because I thought it was a typo when I saw it. But they announced at the Nintendo Direct, they announced it was the 3 remake came out first, and then 1 and 2 are coming out later. So
All right. Um. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. Yeah, like I said, I want to add it to my list eventually
yeah, cool.
as well. Um.
I think you got another pick, yeah.
Yep.
Oh no,
No, that was it for me.
cool.
So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more regs and 4 more new game franchises.
All right, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'll go a regular. Um, Ghost of Yote. When did? Let me just check when Ghost of Tsushima when that come out. 2020. So this makes it 5 years there. That'd be about right. It's a little bit of a risk because I can see that one potentially slipping as well.
Mm.
Oh, actually, I might go for one that's coming out soon. I've seen a list. Avowed. So that's again another one that's been previewing pretty well. Obsidian game. It's a Obsidian RPG. It's going to be similar sort of length to like the Outer Worlds was. Now I bounced off the Outer Worlds. I tried it. It's got good writing and whatnot, but I don't know what it was about that
I
game. It just didn't click with me.
I did see Avowed, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. So I've picked it because from what I've heard from the previews, the combat works surprisingly well. It looks a bit clunky in the trailers and that, but it's got a real good rhythm to it. So and yeah, Obsidian games typically review pretty well. So I picked that. And then I'm going to pick a new game franchises to change it up again. God, so Earthblade. I think Earthblade I'm going to give a go. So Earthblade is the next game from the team that made Celeste. So that was a really super high. I still haven't played it, but incredibly well reviewed, like high 90s or mid 90s platformer with a really good story, apparently. And this Earthblade's been in development since that came out, so it's been a long time. The trailer looks really good. I think that's a good bet, so I'm going to pick that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with new game franchise. Wonder Stop.
Do you know about this game?
No, I feel like I would have Wonder Stop.
That's right.
On my...
Yeah, do a quick Google search. So I was keep forgetting. So another really good pick because it's from the dude that did the team that did. Gosh, what was it? Let me look at the Ivy Road. Stanley Parable.
Right. Okay. Oh, right. So this is from the same team that did Stanley Parable.
Yep.
Ooh.
The synopsis is really cool. So the game's protagonist, Alta, is a former warrior who's been traumatized by fighting an arena. She hopes that by working to maintain a tea shop, her trauma will be healed. Yeah, it sounds really cool. Like a really cool premise.
Yes, actually, I think this might actually be on my. I did hear of it. And I think it actually might be on my list.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, definitely one to stop. Again, I don't know if it's going to be enough to differentiate itself from these what they call cozy games. But you know what? Because I think the leverage is going to come from the Stanley Parable, sort of pedigree, and if it's got that sense of humor, definitely I think it's going to work. So
and
putting that on the list,
and it's unique. It's a unique premise, so it has a real opportunity to be either middle of the road or smashing out of the park because it's going to be, it's if it delivers on its vision, it's going to be reviewed well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good one.
Dispatch.
Dispatch.
Yeah.
Is that another new?
Yeah, I'm going for another one, another new one. Seeing
Dispatch game. I know. I definitely haven't heard of this one.
You're gonna have to go game, unfortunately, because Google doesn't. There we are, Dispatch.
So dysfunctional. So Dispatch is a. Oh, let me just zoom in a bit here. Dispatch is a superhero workplace comedy where choices matter. Manage a dysfunctional team of misfit heroes and strategize who to send to emergencies around the city, all while balancing office politics, personal relationships, and your own quest to become a hero. Interesting. The trailer's pretty wacky. It's working with the bat. Just looking at it on the Steam page.
There you go. I'm just turning it down.
Guy looks like Peter Parker in the Spider-Man movies. Those
Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with Dispatch just because it does look good.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
Although Atomfall is on there.
Yeah, so that's
Okay, look, I've still got space, so I will go with Dispatch, and then I might pick Atomfall, unless of course you do.
Yeah, well, we'll see because I'm not sure how to feel about that. Again, another preview came out or maybe a trailer released, and I think it was a gameplay overview. I haven't looked at it, but from what it sounds like, it definitely is that Fallout vibe. But I think there's a lot more strategy and survival to it. Well, British, yeah, but in terms of the gameplay, it sounds like it's a bit more survival, and they typically review pretty well. It's from my perspective, it kind of turned me off a bit when I heard that because I'm much more of the Fallout. Like I bounced off Fallout 76 because that's obviously that online thing, but it's also built around kind of more of a survival aspect of it. And I'm saying, I'd rather the story and go and do a mission, stuff like that. So I'm a little bit cooler now on Atomfall. I'm still interested, but I think it'll probably review well if it's a strategy type of a. It's got that survival element to it.
Yeah, of course.
I'll go regular game this time. See, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is jumping out at me. That's due to come out. and if I was going to get any sort of a bet, it would come out on well, it's definitely going to come out on the Switch 2 now, but will
Look,
it?
it was jumping out for me too. I say go for it because if it does come out, I think it will. It's been a while since we've had a Prime, so
The thing that's given me pause there is that it's we already know that they've contracted out to have Metroid Prime 1 and 2, 2 and 3 remastered. So the rumor going around is Metroid Prime Remastered was made by I've forgotten now who the team name are, but there's the team that made basically the original Metroid Prime. So they did this remaster and it was really well reviewed. I played it. Because I've never played the Prime series, I liked it. It was fun. Doesn't matter what I think because it reviewed really well. I didn't think it was quite worth that, but it was still reviews really well. And 4 is so highly anticipated, and it is due. It is overdue. The thing is, I feel like with Nintendo's strategy is they have sat on games previously, and my gut feel is they'll probably do. They'll leave room for Mario, potentially a Mario Kart, and maybe another big game of their first party lineup. And then they'll release the Metroid Prime remasters, and then the following year, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So I could be completely wrong, but based on that, I'm not going to pick it because I have a feeling it's going to be the following year.
All
So
right.
I'm going to go with Pokemon Legends ZA because they typically always review pretty well. It's the longest developed game since for a while for them. So, and the last Legends game did pretty well. So I'm picking that. And
Well done. Well choice. Good choice.
I've got one more to pick. So I'm going to pick. I don't know if I want to risk. See, they've got Mario Kart on here too. Oh, I'm not sure.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that I'm going to risk Metroid Prime. I'm going to go for that.
Wow. I'm going to go with. Oh, that's. Did I go regular release? Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm going to try. I'm going to go Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii just because they have recently been reviewing really well.
No, well done. Well done. That was going to be one of my choices. That was definitely going to be one of my choices. Okay, it's my shot.
Yep.
So, going with the regular ones, Metroid Prime.
Nice.
And yeah, look, I don't know. I just maybe it's wishful thinking, but yeah, definitely. I don't know. I've got good vibes about it. Atom Fall.
Yep.
See, my issue is because if something is released early in the year, by the time people have been sort of playing it for a while, they'll get sick of it, and it's like, oh, actually, and then they start picking it apart. It's sort of my fear.
Yeah.
But you know what? Oh, Mouse PI for hire. Mouse PI for hire.
That's got me intrigued. I'm going to Google that. Mouse PI for hire.
Yeah, I've actually been sort of half seeing this.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with my gut and go with Atomfall.
Yep.
And yeah, and then I'll probably choose something else for my new game franchise.
Yeah, I better I'll do a couple of news game franchises now because I've been doing plenty of the regular ones. So, yeah, I'm going to risk it on South of Midnight.
Oh, well done. Okay. Yeah, well done.
And see, Judas is jumping out at me. So that's the game by, I've forgotten his name, but he developed the original Bioshock.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. It was jumping out at me, but
yeah,
I was like, oh, I don't know. The TBA is throwing me off.
Yeah, and it from last time, like there was a preview done last year, but it sounds like it's a fair way off, so it's a bit of a risk. And the other thing is, this is more of a personal thing. I bounced off Bioshock hard. Did not see the hype. So I'm going to go with Skate Story because I don't know why. I could not get into the gameplay. It just wasn't interesting. The story wasn't interesting. The art turned me off. Actually, I didn't like the artwork for some reason. It just didn't grab me. So I played a few hours, but I just quit it after that. But Skate Story. So Skill Up did a preview on that recently, and that looks so wacky. Talk about art, like it's a skating game, but it's all you just got to look up a trailer for that, man, because it looks so trippy. And I think it might be an
Right,
Australian
looking it up.
developer too. Skate Story. Let me have a look.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
yeah. That for me is an immediate yes. Oh
yeah.
yes, yes, I've heard of this one. Yeah,
Mm.
one of the indie channels I watch kind of does this.
Yeah, so I'd never heard of it until the Skill Up video. Oh, sorry, no, I did hear about talked about, but I think I ignored it when I heard it on a podcast because I thought, oh, I was just a I don't know. I just thought it was like another one. There's been quite a few of these skate games out, like that. Oh, I've forgotten the name of
Yeah,
it.
the
Roller
one with the
Co.
80s music or whatever it is, the nostalgia.
There's that, yeah, and then there was that Ollie Ollie World, and I was sort of like thought it was a bunch
Yeah.
of those, but no, this one looks quite unique. It looks pretty out there, so it might have a bit of sway, I think. Oh, New York. Okay, so he's not. Well, he could be Aussie, but he says based in New York. But anyway, yeah, it's a solo developer, so that's another one's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, like I said, there's passion behind this, obviously. This is somebody who's either a skater or not.
Yeah,
And yeah, look, the backstory is beautiful, actually. I feel this is like a mournful, melancholy style game, or the
mm,
story will be.
mm,
Because I just saw the trailer. It said you're a demon made of glass and regret. So
yeah,
yeah, it like I think that says a lot.
yep,
Um, and yeah, like the whole underworld aspect. I think there's going to be a lot of like really cool um people trying to figure out the story come out of it. So yeah.
absolutely.
Oh me. Okay.
Yep,
I need to go with my regular. So regular. You know what? I'm gonna go with Kingdom Come Deliverance,
nice.
just because. Look, I got a good feeling about that game. I really do, and I'm gonna go with for my last um for my last one for new game franchise. Even though I've got a great feeling for Mouse PI for Hire, just because I just got a feeling that's gonna be really 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 good. Um, and I think potentially Rematch might also be good, even though it's a sports game.
Oh yeah, God,
Um,
yes. It's the developers from Sifu.
yeah,
That
okay.
trailer was amazing. So that was at the Game Awards, and I immediately went yes because it's essentially it's taking that concept of even though the concept of Rocket League is stolen from soccer, but it's the same sort of concept as you. It's a multiplayer game in that short arena. It looks like you got like the boundaries of the walls, like the ball doesn't go out. It's always staying in. And
You know what?
oh, it looks so good.
I'll leave. I'll leave. Like I said, Mouse PI Rematch for you. I'm gonna take Mixtape, which is that's also Skater one.
Oh
Since you
yeah,
chose a Skater one, yeah, I'm gonna. And I think I told you about it originally, where it's like 80 stuff. So I'm gonna take that and draft that for my last new game franchise.
yeah, that looks so good. All right. Even though I said all that, how I really, well, excuse me, like the look of it. I don't know if it's a surefire thing, but actually, yeah. Now that
Yeah.
if I'm looking at everything else, like what else? So Crimson Desert potentially will review well. So that's by I think they're that developer that did that. What was that? It was a really crazy game shown a few years ago at one of the Summer Games Fest or whatever, and it just looks so out of this
Yeah, yeah.
world. Yeah, and I think it's the same developer, but this people got hyped about that other crazy what looking one because it's this developer and they do really good with their MMO. The first there's like this is a spiritual successor to one of their other MMO games and it reviewed really well. So, but I don't know. That says late 2025, so that's a bit of a risk. Let's have a look. What else we got in here? A lot of these I haven't heard of, so I'm not. Oh, Light No Fire. Although that I don't know if that's due out. So
Light on fire.
that's Hello Games
Right.
who did No Man's Sky. So that's their new one. Uh,
Okay.
Big Walk. So that's the new game from House Games, which is the guys that did the Goose Game, Untitled Goose Game. But That has got a release date, so I'm not confident on that.
Mm.
I am Jesus Christ. I think I've heard of that one. Anyway, I get distracted. Times, Jesus Christ.
No, you're right.
Look at the time. Yeah, okay, I'll start going through mine. All right, so I'm going to choose. Yeah, I'm going to go back to rematch.
Yep, well done. Well done. Good choice.
Rematch, and then I'll do a regular game, and I'm going to choose. What were we talking about before? Rematch and.
The big mouse one, whatever it was.
Oh yeah, no, I actually haven't looked into enough of that. I'm not confident on picking that one, so I'm not going to try that. Oh wow, Killing Floor 3. Huh. Dying Light. Marvel's Wolverine. Oh god, they got Half-Life 3 here. Cope.
Mm.
I'm gonna. This is gonna be a risk pick, but I'm gonna go with Ghost of Yotei. Don't think it's gonna be out this year, but I'm gonna risk it.
I think it would be an easy win if it does come out this year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Death Stranding and
Ooh,
Outer Worlds 2.
that's an interesting pick. Yeah, I think Death Stranding 2 will be well received. He would have learnt something from that first game.
Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah,
Ragebound.
I think that is a side scroller, Metroidvania.
Yeah, I was gonna say
or
if that's a side scroll Metrovania, that and if it genuinely will come out, then
yeah, it is too.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that looked, the trailer
All right.
really impressed. That looked good.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop that one on there. And I'm gonna do now it gets fun. Fable.
Yeah, big question mark.
Yeah, there's a big question mark on that. I don't know if it's even gonna come out, to be honest.
Yeah, that's my coin flip. I'm expecting to be good. So that's the developers from Forza Horizon, those series.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting it to be pretty good. Just based off that, I know it doesn't have any pedigree to like the original dev team, but I mean the quality they put in Forza Horizon. Forza Horizon 5 is like a bloody RPG, but with cars. So if they can do that, I'm sure Fable will be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't know if it's coming out this year, eh?
Yeah, no. I'm little like the same goes with Little Nightmares 3, Borderlands 4.
Yep.
Ooh, 2 Point Museum. I'm gonna actually put that on there. 2 Point Museum.
Oh, is that a sequel to 2 Point Hospital?
Yeah. It's like 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point Zoo, and all that other stuff.
Yep.
The ones who like sort of took like all the sim hospitals and all that other stuff and really worked it. So yeah, I know they make great games. So absolutely.
And it's end of February. That's confirmed. So
Yeah. So for me, that one's a no brainer. That one, like I said, it's got a stiff competition, but I think the previous like 2 Point stuff have rated quite highly. So
nice.
yeah.
All right. Gosh. All right. So I'm on to. Actually, let's go to release date. Oh yeah, Fragpunk. Huh. Actually, yeah, change that one. Go the other way. Eternal Strands, Urban Myth. Yeah, I'm gonna try. Yeah, feels Fragpunk's like interesting. It's got a lot of again same thing. It's a shooter, arena shooter, multiplayer, but you pick up cards and
Yeah.
they modify the gameplay. So it looks alright, but it is also that's such a diluted
Yes. Yeah.
genre, and it's really hard to stand out. So
I was gonna say, has this been in the works or something? Because I
yeah,
remember hearing of this like a few years ago.
yeah, it was. It was, yeah, it said they've already had tests. I think they've had like public, well, not public, but they've had closed tests. So,
Yeah. Look, good call. I mean, look, because it's not a type of game that I would ever. I won't say ever play, but it's something that doesn't really interest me because, yeah, I guess it's an arena shooter. Um, uh, yeah,
I,
I've got
dra-
no interest.
I drafted it anyway because it's the only one I really know that I'm confident with. Like the others, I don't really have any much confidence with. All right, I'm going to do the bleeding obvious one here, which I'm probably not going to play, but I think it'll probably still review well, pretty
TGA?
well. No, Assassin's Creed Shadows. So that just got another delay, which doesn't bring me a lot of confidence, but they usually review pretty well. So I'm going to pick that. And they've been putting a lot. They've been talking this one up, and it's basically Ubisoft's last hurrah before they potentially
Last
go under
hurrah.
or potentially get sold
This
off.
one song.
Mm.
Yeah.
Back over to you
Look,
for the last.
I definitely want to say, look, Grand Theft Auto, but I don't feel like putting it on there. I mean, Rift of the Necro Dancer
Huh.
is if something that I would like to put on there. Again, I'm not feeling it though. I'm not getting strong sort of vibes from it.
Yep.
Professor Layton and the World of Steam. I would love to see that released because I'm a Professor Layton fan, but nope. Dynasty Warriors
Oh yeah, they're
Origin.
doing a new Dynasty Warriors. Yeah, they're a mixed bag that series. Some of them
Yeah,
review
they
really
are,
well,
aren't
some of them
they?
don't. So I don't know, a bit of a risk that one, but yeah,
Tales of Iron 2.
never heard of it.
That doesn't look as great as the first one. So, no. Fatal Fury, City of Walls.
Oh, that's a fighting
No,
game. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't see much coming out of it. Marvel 1943,
So
Rise of Hydra.
that's interesting. I think. Hang on, is that the one I'm thinking of? Marvel. What was it called?
Yeah, 1943.
I think this might be. I could be wrong. This might be the one that Amy Hennig's. No, it isn't Skydance. I don't think so. Amy Hennig's doing a. Oh no, it is. Yeah, it is her one. Yeah, so she's a previous director and writer on the Uncharted series, so she's got a bit of weight behind her, and they've been working on this game for quite some time. So that's fairly well hyped. This one, we haven't seen anything of it yet though, so who knows?
Yeah, it says again. I really want to go for it, but then at the same time, like, you've also got Professor Layton and the New World of Steam, which I would probably go for more quickly, and or Death Stranding 2.
Oh
But
yeah,
Death Stranding 2, I don't feel is going to come out. Outer Worlds 2, if it does come out, I don't see it rating highly. Fable, as someone who's a Fable fan, I don't know. Look, it could impress, but at the same time, I don't think it will.
yeah, yeah. I,
Oh, Gears
I,
of War.
I'm only going based off optimism. That studio have done good work, but who knows?
Yeah.
Gears of War, yeah, I don't know if that'll release. Everyone's pretty hyped about that because that's, of course, a prequel to the original trilogy. Back with Marcus Phoenix and his mate Dom and whatnot.
Oh my goodness, I've got Resident Evil 9 unannounced. Yeah, okay, sure.
Well, that's rumored to be announced and potentially released this year because they're due for the follow up to 8.
I can't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it
When did 8 come out? Resident Evil 8.
Call of
2021.
Duty 2025, Pathologic. Kingdom Hearts. No, it's not going to come out. Under Madness. No.
Another potential risky pick for you, but it could be a winner is the unannounced Mario Kart game.
I
I'm
was thinking that. I genuinely was thinking that.
The only thing stops me with that is they just finished wrapping up end of last year, not 20, sorry, not 24, but 23.
Actually,
That DLC, so that's like essentially feature complete now, and I'm almost thinking they might have the gall to re-release that entire package again on the Switch too, rather
that's what.
than yeah.
No, that's exactly what I'm feeling. But I found the one I actually am going to go with.
Oh,
Vampire the Masquerade's Bloodline 2.
yeah, good one. Yep.
Yeah, just because look, I've got a good feeling about it. It's something that I think everyone's been waiting, and I think it's going to be like a hidden sort of star.
Yep. All right. I think we're at, yeah, onto the counter picks. Okay. So from what you've picked, I need to basically see one in here that I feel that will go lower, basically, to try and pinch some stuff from here.
Look,
So,
I was going to say, look, quite frankly, I think the Metroid Prime, personally, um, because I was thinking about this as well.
mm,
Um, does it have to only be from the reg, or can it be for anything else?
I think it's got your entire list here, from what I can see.
Then,
So I can, yeah, I
and
mean,
I think you're right with Adamfall. I think you're right with Adamfall.
yeah, actually, that's the first one checked. I will. That's gonna be my first counter pick. Um, just have a feeling that might be. I have a feeling that might be in like the mid to late 70s.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. I know. For me, that's a bit of a risk.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you say about mine. Which one do you think? Actually,
Well,
I know one in my head. I'm
uh,
not going to tell you first, but I'm going to see what you pick. But
um, well, for me, again, the one that I think we're not really going to see, it's not going to receive great reviews just because Ghost of Yota is coming out, is going to be Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's going to fall
oh,
short
good
of
one.
Ghost of Yota.
That took me by surprise. I was going to say Frag Punk. I thought you might have picked. That could be the second one. Yeah.
um, no, I believe it or not, I think Fragpunk is actually got um, I think it will have just enough to refresh the genre. Oh, it's okay. So second one, me.
Yeah, you get another one.
Second one, yeah. Okay, second one.
In that case, I don't know what you're going to pick because that was my target. I was thinking because
Oh,
I think the
Avowed.
opposite. I think oh yeah okay no, that's a good one because yeah
Uh,
I'm not 100%
I've,
confident that's going to review well. That might be very middle of the road as well.
yeah, I've heard a few things that could potentially throw it off, but again, I don't know.
Yep.
For your second one, what are you thinking?
Let's have a look.
Because I know you said Adamfall. Um,
The other one that jumped.
honestly, oh yeah, I was gonna say honestly, between Metroid Prime, Kingdom Come Deliverance, maybe not so much. Out of out of the three that I'm thinking, it's Metroid Prime, Kingdom Come Deliverance, and uh, what was the last one I'm looking at here? Um, I
Was
was thinking Ninja Gaiden might just really fizzle
yeah
out,
potentially. Or which
but yeah,
dispatch was
three.
that superhero one? Was that
This yeah, Dispatch was the superhero one that
yeah
you're working at in that company.
yeah
Yeah, like, it might not get high, I admit that, but it is different enough. But I think one of the again, no, no, not to dissuade you,
hmm.
your choice is your choice. But like I said, between those three, Metroid Prime, Kingdom Come, and Ninja Gaiden, I feel fizzle out, and Metroid Prime for me is a complete bluff. I don't even know if it's going to come out, to be quite frank.
Hmm.
Like you said, Kingdom Come is the strongest out of the three. Although I think you're right. I think there'll be criticism with it not being different enough from the original.
Yeah, so that's mine was well, Clear Obscure. I don't know enough about, so I've left that out. Dispatch, I feel like is probably my winner, but I'll come back to that. I feel like yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance could be hurt just because it's not as approachable or accessible. I just
Yeah,
completely disagree with Metro Prime 4. I think that'll blow everybody out of the water because it's been cooking for a long time and they are really well received games.
if it comes out,
If it comes,
if
yeah,
it
true,
comes out.
very true. That could be the yeah. Um, and the another one I was looking at. Well, I first in my head went 2 Point Museum, but then I remember what you said, and I'll take any word for
No,
it.
no.
They rate really well, so
Mm.
um, yeah, Ninja Garden Rage Band was the next one. So I'm going to go with my guts Dispatch. So I'm going to pick that.
Yeah, no, no, that's cool. The reason I was saying Ninja Gaiden was because of the same, um, what's the word? Was the same thing as Streets of Rage 4 or whatever, Streets of Rage Neon, where it was like, oh yeah, it's great, but is it great?
Mm.
Okay, Sorry, it just came up with a message and I sort of half dismissed it.
That was
Um,
might have been about the
about
bidding.
the budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't
Mm,
know. I'm just ignoring that for the moment. If you want to read up afterwards, you can.
okay.
Um,
There's a make a bid sort of section here. You can use this form to place a bid on a game. Bids are processed Saturday nights, blah, blah, blah. Warning, if you already filled your game slots, you can still make bids, but you must drop a game first if you have two options. Yeah, okay, I'm not really interested in bidding in that case then.
yeah, so we don't
I'm,
have
I'm
to
I'm happy
like
with my
that.
choice.
I think that's more like if you know one that's been delayed, you can jump on and get it dropped out and put some of the kitty money in there. But I think I'm happy with just to leave it and just take it as is. All right, so I'll quickly. Well, if you wanted to
Yeah,
run through your
well,
list, then I can run through mine. Just
yeah, absolutely. And the one thing is, I've just switched on show projections. I'm
oh,
currently at approximately 121, and you're at 135.
ha! Wow, projections. I love that.
Yeah.
Who's projecting that?
Yeah, because I'm getting a 0 for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines too. So so I've chosen for my regular games, Elden Ring, Night Rain, Doom, The Dark Ages, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Metroid Prime 4, Beyond, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Ninja Gaiden, Ragebound, Two Point Museum, Vampires the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2.
That's a mouthful.
And for my new game franchises, or do you want to swap between?
That's okay. Keep going. Yep.
Okay, new game franchises: Mina the Hollower, Claire Obscure, Expedition 33. That's a mouthful. That one.
Yeah.
Wonderstop, Dispatch, Atomfall, Mixtape. For my expansion pack, Dave the Diver in the Jungle. For my flex slot, which means a game that will either have the tags Director's Cut, Reimagining, Remake, Partial Remake, I've chosen Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. And for my counter picks, Assassin's Creed Shadows and Avowed.
Excellent. Very good. For my list for Big Crack Productions, for my regular games, I have the unannounced mainline 3D Mario platformer, Hollow Knight Silk Song, Monster Hunter Wilds, Avowed, Pokemon Legend Zar, Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, Ghost of Yotei, Assassin's Creed Shadows. And for the new game franchises, I've got Split Fiction, Earthblade, South of Midnight, Skate Story, Rematch, and Fragpunk. For the expansion pack, I have The Rise of the Golden Idol, The Sins of the New my eyes are fading because of the time.
The
Sins of the
Sins
New
of the New Well.
Worlds. There we go. Yep. Flex pick is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, and counter picks are Atomfall and Dispatch. So I might have more risks in my list. I reckon for games coming
I
out.
think you do. I
Yeah.
think you do, but again, you've chosen really solidly,
Well, that
quite
said,
frankly.
I've gone for the swing for the fences. So it could be a swing and a miss. Where
Mm.
you've gone for those steady, sure things. So
Mm.
it's actually gonna be an interesting year how this all plays out.
Yeah, and look, admittedly, a lot of it has been choices that I've made that are essentially things that I would potentially buy and
Yeah.
or enjoy.
Yep.
Like absolutely, Minnow the Hollower, Clear Obscure is definitely on my list. Wonder Stop, definitely was one that I'd seen previously and completely forgot about. Funnily enough,
Yep.
because I saw it, I think like September last year. Um, so definitely that one. Dispatch is probably my only one that I haven't heard of. Atomfall, I definitely remember hearing it. Mixtape, yep. Dave the Diver, I know of. Dragon Quest, um, the Two Point Museum stuff. Ninja Gaiden, a bit of left field as well. That was sort of like last minute scrounging around. Uh, Metroid Prime, Doom, and like I said, Kingdom Come Deliverance. I'm really hoping big things for Kingdom Come Deliverance,
Me too.
just because yeah, it's one of the ones that I hope
Great trailer.
will, yeah,
Looks
great
good.
trailer and like I know people love it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. And I think all this takes place in November. It does this. We've got a whole year.
Yeah. So I thought it's a good. We'll be able to come back and have a chat about the games if we played them. We'd talk about the reviews, like what we saw, because it kind of gives you something to invest in, right? Like instead of pick
Absolutely.
about, we can actually look at both of our lists. And I'm going to be coming back to it quite a bit and go, oh, this like I think we've got the upcoming releases. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's out first. So that's yours in February. So I'm going to be looking
Mhm.
at that and going, oh, how's it going? So you got the first two going to be your picks. So it's looking forward to seeing
And
them.
then I think it's followed by three of yours, and then sort of one of mine.
And then we'll be a bit of back and forth.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's going to be a bit of back and forth, which again, definitely looking forward to.
Yeah,
Um,
cool. Well, we might wrap it up there. Yeah,
yeah, let's.
we'll do that. Hopefully, the next one will be in person, but we'll just see how all our timetable shifts and whatnot. But yeah, of course,
Yeah,
remember to like,
life
share.
allows.
Yeah, yeah. Like, share, and subscribe. If you got a comment, chuck that in the comments. And until then, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah. See you in the next episode, everyone. Bye.
Bye.